I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through eyes covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep. I love everything.
All right, y'all, how we doing? All right, hang on here, because the event is starting soon. It's not on yet, okay? But we're going to get this going. We are going to be taking a look at these brand new photos from NASA about the spaceship, the 3I Atlas comet. And let's get this set up, because they're not ready yet. These things are always late, but they are getting close. So let's just have it ready. Okay, no, they're going. Hang on. All right, y'all. Let's go. Then we'll hang out afterwards here, talk about it.
Talk science.
Talk about science.
Good afternoon and welcome to NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center. We are live today with NASA experts who are excited to share the latest images we have of the interstellar comet 3I Atlas. 3I means third interstellar, and Atlas refers to the NASA-funded Atlas Survey Telescope, which made the discovery. We are joined today by Amit Shathria, NASA's Associate Administrator, Nikki Fox, Associate Administrator for NASA's Science Mission Directorate, Sean Domagal-Goldman, Director for the Astrophysics Division, and Tom Statler, Lead Scientist for Solar System Small Bodies in the Planetary Science Division. We'll be taking questions from the media on the phone bridge and through social media, but before we get started, let's learn more about this fascinating comet and share some images. Amit, kick us off.
Hi, everyone. America leads the way in space exploration. As Courtney noted, a NASA-funded telescope, the Atlas Survey Telescope in Chile, first reported observations of the comet on July 1st, 2025 to the Minor Planet Center. And NASA has been tracking and studying Comet 3I Atlas ever since. We're here today to give you the latest of what we know about Comet 3I Atlas and what we still want to know. But first, what is a comet? It's a small, natural, solid body that is a combination of rocky and icy material that evaporates as it warms when it's close to a star like the sun. But to start with, I'd like to address the rumors right at the beginning. I think it's important that we talk about that. This object is a comet.
Rumors?
It looks and behaves like a comet and all evidence points to it being a comet. But this one came from outside the solar system, which makes it fascinating, exciting, and scientifically very important. This is only the third interstellar object like this that humanity has ever found. And a little bit more about the rumors. I think it's very important, and I'm actually very excited that a lot of the world was speculating about the comet while NASA was in a period where we couldn't speak about it due to the recent government shutdown. I think what I took away from that whole experience and watching that as we were working during the shutdown was just how interested and how excited people were about the possibility of what this comet could be. There was a lot of speculation about what it could be, but what I think is really awesome is that folks were interested in this incredible finding that we observed and that came from the heavens, and what that means, what it could mean about how magical the universe could be. It expanded people's brains to think about how magical the universe could be. And I'll tell you, here at NASA, we think that every day. And so it's really great that you were able to join us while we were, not able to comment because of the shutdown constraints about what that comet is, because we think the universe is a magical place, and we spend your treasure and we spend all of our time trying to make sure that we explore that and share with you as much as we can. In fact, we want very much to find signs of life in the universe. In fact, just a few months ago, we were with you and we talked about what we think might be the signal from ancient life on the surface of Mars from our amazing machines that have been roving the planet for 30 years to look for those things. That is something that's really important for us to learn about and discover. It could be an amazing discovery if and when we can confirm that. But 3I Atlas is a comet. So my colleagues from the Science Mission Directorate will go through the images in detail, but just to give you a peek, here's one of the images from the closest physical instrument we had to the comet, from the HiRISE instrument on our Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, taken on October 2nd as the comet sailed by at a distance of 19 million miles from the instrument. You can see that Comet 3I Atlas looks like a fuzzy white ball. That
Or a
ball is
spaceship.
cloud of dust and ice called the coma, which is shed by the comet as it continues its trajectory towards the sun. I'll leave it to my esteemed colleagues to share further details, and I'd like to introduce you to the head of NASA Science, Nikki Fox.
Thank you so much. It is such a rare opportunity for us to be able to observe this interstellar comet. And NASA Science has been given this really, really exciting opportunity to do it, and literally from the moment of its discovery. Just like Amit said, comets are tiny cosmic snowballs. And by studying them, we can learn about the environment from, basically where they formed, where they came from. This one came from a different environment from our own, and so we're already starting to see some really interesting differences to comets from our own solar system. 3I Atlas, as you heard, is the third known interstellar object to pass through our solar system, the first one being identified in 2017. While these types of interstellar objects have long been predicted, we are just beginning to be able to find them thanks to the newest technologies with our network of Earth-based telescopes, which are designed to find small, fast-moving objects in space. The NASA-funded Atlas Survey Telescope, which made the discovery, is part of NASA's Planetary Defense Network. Our telescopes are always watching the skies to keep us safe, and in doing so, they occasionally make major scientifically interesting discoveries, just like this one. Right away, of course, NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office they studied it, and they established that 3I Atlas is not a danger to Earth. In fact, it's at least twice as far away as the distance between the Earth and our sun. On October 30th, the comet itself reached the closest it will ever be to the sun when it crossed just inside Mars's orbit, which is why the image that Amit just showed, he noted it was the closest instrument physically to the comet, because the comet was right inside the orbit of Mars. Earth was on the opposite side of the sun, which is about as far away as our planet can possibly be from Mars. It's been clear from the moment of discovery that the comet was going to pass on the opposite side of the sun from where the Earth is. However, it was also clear that its positioning behind the sun was going to make observations from Earth very, very difficult. And that is why we are so happy to have our incredible fleet of NASA science spacecraft all across the solar system. And boy, were they ready for this event. NASA's science assets on board our missions have provided the United States the unique capability to observe 3I Atlas almost the entire time it passes through our celestial neighborhood. Everything NASA science does is interconnected, and nearly 20 mission teams have been working together to really rise to this challenge. 20 mission teams, by the way, and counting. Everything we're learning about the comet is possible because of the distribution of all of the different instruments on our spacecraft with different capabilities. And I'll note that for some of them, we've even pushed our scientific instruments beyond their normal capabilities, beyond the things that they were designed to achieve, to allow us to capture this amazing glimpse at this interstellar traveler. In other words, we can study this comet so well because we have many different assets in different locations, observing things in different wavelengths, in different ways, with different instruments, each set of observations providing a different lens for understanding objects in the sky. So NASA's science team has kept watch on 3I Atlas for nearly its entire journey through the solar system for the first time ever. So I'll just quickly go through the timeline of which NASA spacecraft have observed the comet thus far, and we're still going. There will be more opportunities to observe this comet as it continues its journey through the solar system, passing the orbit of Jupiter in spring of 2026. So the NASA assets that are gathering observations of 3I Atlas include Hubble, the James Webb Space Telescope, TESS, SWIFT, SphereX, Perseverance Mars Rover, Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, MAVEN, Europa Clipper, Lucy, Psyche, personal favorite, Parker Solar Probe, Punch, Stereo, and ESA, NASA's SOHO mission. And I'll note that Parker Solar Probe's data were just downloaded yesterday, and indeed, we did catch several glimpses of this amazing comet. The scientific community is hard at work analyzing these images, and everyone, as always, is welcome to take a look. At NASA, we embrace open science. We make all of our data available to the public 24/7, and we invite, in fact, we really want you to tell us what you're observing and what you think about what we're looking at. We're still learning even about what questions we still need to ask, and this, of course, is the scientific process in action. All the data go to a public archive. We get those images as soon as we're able to from all of our eyes in space. As always, I am excited to see what new things we learn about our friendly solar system visitors.
Let's see the pictures.
The years to come. So now I'm going to pass over to Sean. He's going to tell you about what our astrophysics missions have seen. They, of course, were some of the first things to look at the comet, and images from several of them have been available since the beginning of the summer. So I'm going to ask you to set the stage for us. Tell us what we've already seen before we hand over to Tom to tell us all the new stuff. Take it away, Sean.
Thanks, Nikki. Happy to. To give you some background, NASA's astrophysics missions, like all our missions, they are designed to do things that would otherwise be impossible. In this case, our nation's space telescopes stare deeper and more sharply into the universe than any other observatories in the world. And that means we're often the first to follow up and study near-Earth objects or comets like 3I Atlas after they're initially detected. That same powerful gaze that lets these telescopes see distant galaxies, those little red dots you might hear about, they also allow us to observe details about objects like 3I Atlas a little bit sooner. And the earlier we learn about these objects, the earlier we can share this information with the world.
Y'all, they're going to milk this, okay? If they show the pictures, everyone's out. So they're going to milk this. Hope they don't milk it too long, though.
Conduct additional observations with their telescopes. In this case, our astrophysics missions came together to take advantage of this rare opportunity to study this comet that came to us from outside the solar system. From our flagship space telescopes to smaller missions like TESS and SWIFT, they all have, as Nikki said, different complementary capabilities. They don't just do things that would otherwise be impossible, they do things that even our other great telescopes can't do. So every time we add to the fleet, we add additional capabilities that expand the realm of the possible. In this case, it let us refine the orbit of this structure early on, determine what its structure is and what its composition is, what it is made of. It's a beautiful illustration of why we have not just one space telescope, but a fleet of them, because every one member of that fleet specializes in a different kind of information, contributing a different piece of the puzzle to the total understanding we have from the fleet as a whole.
Now listen, real quick, it makes sense that they're reading this off a teleprompter, okay, y'all? Because these are not the ones. But it makes sense, right? They can't just wing this. So I get the teleprompter.
Not long after we discovered it from the ground. At this point, 3I Atlas was about 277 million miles from Earth. And what Hubble's images revealed was a few things. First, a teardrop-shaped coma of dust coming off that solid, icy nucleus of the comet itself.
Listen to him, that dust, that nucleus. It's like, wait a second, he got a little sexual there. Talking about this comet, I'm just saying.
Point, actually, we knew is between 1,400 feet in diameter up to as large as 3.5 miles in diameter. And Hubble also saw that the comet was losing dust. And not just losing it, but losing it at a rate consistent with other previous sun-bound comets that originated from within our solar system, consistent with the physics that we figured out from watching those objects. Now, the last thing Hubble did is it gave us a better understanding of the orbit of this object. Tell us not just where it was, but where it was heading, so we could point other observatories at it, such as the James Webb Space Telescope. We added this to our fleet early in this decade. We didn't have it when the last two interstellar comets came around. Now, what James Webb did, and its companion Sphere-X, which we only launched at the beginning of this year, is it added infrared observations. The power of infrared observations is these are colors we can't see. They're redder than what our eyes can detect. And infrared light is particularly good at helping us understand the composition of objects. We can see little molecular fingerprints from the things that the objects are made of. So with these infrared observations, with James Webb and Sphere-X, we detected an abundance of carbon dioxide gas. in the comet's coma and in the bright cloud of gas and dust surrounding that comet as it approaches the sun. Those molecular fingerprints I mentioned, those are the little like science wiggles you might see in the top right of these images. We now know from seeing those science wiggles, those fingerprints of those molecules,
Little
that the comet
science
has a
wiggles.
nucleus
Love
rich
this
in
guy.
carbon
He's great.
dioxide as well as the presence of water ice. Now, the ratio, like we can not just say that these things are there, we can also say, what's the ratio of carbon dioxide to water? And we now know that. We know it's larger than what we usually see in solar system objects. But there's a lot of natural explanations for that. For one, the carbon dioxide is going to kind of bake off that comet earlier on when it's far away. But there's other well-understood processes that could also explain it. I'll just, to put this in context, there are, every time we look beyond our solar system and we look at the ratios of carbon dioxide to water, we see, whether it's a star or a planet, different ratios than we see in the solar system, and that's true for this comet as well. So it could mean, and this is the last theory of why those ratios could be different, that these ices could have been exposed to higher levels of radiation than comets.
You know, it makes me think the best way aliens could come here is disguise their spaceship as a comet. They'd get right through cosmic TSA, if you know what I'm saying.
Which studies X-rays and gamma rays, have also observed the comet. Teams even looked back through data from our TESS mission, which was designed to look at exoplanets, and found observations of the comet as early as May. That information is helping us understand the comet's history before it got closer and when those other observatories pointed at it once we knew where it was. Now that the comet is near, relatively speaking, our planetary and heliophysics missions have joined in to tell us more. And now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Tom Statler to talk about some of those new images.
Let me be clear, y'all, so I don't want to mislead anybody. I do think this is a comet. Okay, just to be fair.
Of where we are, who is where in this play. As you saw in the animations while Nikki was speaking, the sun, of course, is at the center of our solar system. The planets are orbiting around the sun, and in this case, Comet 3I Atlas has come through on a trajectory in the opposite direction and has arrived at its closest point to the sun when the Earth was on the wrong side for us to conveniently observe. But Mars was on the correct side of the sun, and our Mars assets were able to observe the comet, and also several of our other spacecraft were on the correct side of the sun. So the scientific community is really excited about the comet and about these new observations. I'm tremendously excited to help share them with you today. This is a new scientific opportunity, and it's a new window into the makeups and histories of other solar systems. We're just beginning to learn about these types of objects and figure out what are the right questions we should ask about them. Now, let me start by going directly to what we were able to see at the beginning of September, when Psyche was able to see the mission. So before that, though, in August, we organized a
I think his
workshop,
teleprompter's gone off.
coordination session for the missions across the NASA fleet that had good opportunities for potentially observing 3I Atlas, so that we could all share observing plans and knew what was going to be possible with our assets. I can't emphasize enough now how, thanks to the cooperation of so many mission teams, we will be accumulating a wealth of data on this comet that the science community will be digging into for years. Now, let's go back to September, and I can show you a sampling of the images collected by our different mission teams. To set the context,
here we go,
you're
y'all.
going to see a comet that's a small body with a coma around it, basically a fuzzy blob. Now remember, space is big.
The fuck, I can't see
Nothing
anything.
is ever really as close as you like, and all of these observations are very, very difficult. It's a little bit as if our NASA spacecraft were at a baseball game, watching the game from different places in the stadium. Everybody's got a camera, and they're trying to get a picture of the ball, and nobody has a perfect view, and everybody has a different camera. Now, let's return to September and see the first images from the Psyche spacecraft. NASA's Psyche mission acquired 4 broadband black and white images of the comet over the course of 8 hours on September 8th and 9th, 2025. The comet was about 33 million miles from the spacecraft at that time, and you can see in the image the large frame where the comet was seen at different times. Down in the bottom left, is a blow-up, a stack, in addition, of all of those observations. The Psyche spacecraft is on its way to an asteroid in the main asteroid belt that's also named Psyche. And these images were the first captured from this perspective. Now, if you think in that lower left you're not seeing very much, just wait a minute, you'll see more.
Ooh.
Now, the following week in
All right, guys,
September,
science
the
squiggles
Lucy
coming up.
spacecraft observed the comet from the opposite direction. So let's take a look at the Lucy image. This is another broadband black and white image made by adding up a series of individual exposures that were taken on September 16th. Lucy is on its way to study asteroids that shared Jupiter's orbit around the sun, called the Trojan asteroids. Lucy was 240 million miles away from 3I Atlas, which is circled in the center, when its high-resolution LaLaurie camera caught the comet. You can see the comet's coma, the fuzzy halo of gas and dust surrounding 3I Atlas, and its tail, a smudge extending to the right of the comet. If you were the Lucy spacecraft looking at the comet from this angle, the sun would be a little bit over your left shoulder, and so the comet tail is pointing away from the sun, as we've seen many times before in solar system comets. For scale, this image spans about 1/3 the width of the full moon as you'd see it on the sky. Of course, at the distance of the comet, that's a much, much larger region of space than the moon. Now, this looks a little different from the Psyche image. Part of that is because the cameras are different, and part is because of the ways the Psyche and the Lucy teams decided to show their images. But also, it's because we're seeing the comet from different directions. Seeing a comet's coma in different lighting geometries with the sun coming from different directions is one of the key ways to learn about the physical properties of the dust that's been launched off its surface. And I want to emphasize that you do not get these views unless you have spacecraft farther from the sun than the comet is, so that you can see it backlit. We could not get this view from the vantage point of the Earth. So combining the data from Lucy, Psyche, and Earth-based telescopes, scientists are hoping to better understand both the three-dimensional structure of the comet and the nature of the dust. It's a rare opportunity to compare ancient dust from a distant solar system to that from our own. Now let's go to the next picture from the MAVEN spacecraft at Mars. At the beginning of October, 3I Atlas passed within 20 million miles of Mars, which gave our Mars spacecraft an opportunity for a close-up. And earlier you saw the image that Ahmed shared from our Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. MAVEN is another Mars orbiter that has been studying the Martian atmosphere since 2014. Now, this picture is not a direct picture of the comet itself. It's a spectrum. You're seeing the science wiggles that Sean was just talking about.
Science wiggles? We came for pictures. Why they got letters all over this?
Ultraviolet spectrograph on MAVEN has looked at the comet and also split up the ultraviolet light according to color. So you're seeing three different bands in this image. On the right, you're seeing emission from hydrogen gas in the atmosphere of Mars. In the middle, there's a fainter band indicating that's coming from hydrogen gas in interplanetary space. And on the left, that blob is the signature of hydrogen gas coming from comet 3I Atlas. It's a little blob rather than a big streak because the comet is a small object in the sky relative to great big gigantic Mars and interstellar space that fills the entire field of the instrument. That definitely tells us, first of all, that the comet is there. If there were no comet, there would be no little blob on the left side of the image. But it's also telling us it's one of the many ways that we're able to discern the chemical composition of 3I Atlas. And in this particular example, it's showing us the hydrogen gas that's coming off of the nucleus.
Interesting.
Now, MAVEN's observations, combined with the earlier observations by Swift and Webb that Sean spoke about, will help determine the water production rate, how much water vapor is released from the comet when the comet is warmed by the sun, which provides insight into the formation of the comet and its journey through our galaxy. Now, the European Space Agency and NASA's Solar and Heliospheric Observatory, or SOHO, also successfully imaged 3I Atlas from October 15th to 16th after it had passed Mars.
Okay.
And SOHO spotted the comet crossing its field of view from approximately 222 million miles away, or more than twice the distance of Earth from the sun. Comet 3I Atlas was expected to be too faint for SOHO to see, but this result was made using detailed image processing and overlaying, or we call it stacking, subsequent telescope images. And this image highlights the value of spacecraft and instruments designed to look directly toward the sun, as Nikki was saying before, not only to study the sun, but also to have the ability to see other objects crossing, in this case, behind the sun from the telescope's point of view. You'll be able to see the rest of the images on our 3I Atlas website, go.nasa.gov/3i-atlas. And there will be more to come. Not all of the data have been downlinked yet through NASA's Deep Space Network, and there are more observations still in work. And also, it's a long way from where we are today, seeing the initial images, to then making sure that they are accurately calibrated and processed to do science with, and then doing the analysis, combining the data sets, understanding them, and finally producing the scientific understanding, the knowledge of what this all means, which will be published in peer-reviewed scientific journals. But the answers will come later on. We are still at this phase, very much in the state where we're figuring out what are even the right questions to ask about interstellar objects. This is a snapshot of where we are very early in the scientific process.
I got all the pictures, and we'll look at them here in a second. There's way more on their website. I just looked it up.
An answer portion of this event. Just a reminder to our media on the phone bridge to press *1 to enter the queue and ask your questions. We'll take our first question from the phone bridge from Marcia Dunn with the Associated Press.
Oh, what?
Yes, hi. Based on your latest observation, what more can you tell us about the potential shape of the comet? Can you fine-tune any more on how big or small it might be? Origin, all that sort of thing. Thank you.
You know, everything.
Thanks for that question. There's a lot of territory to cover there, so let's see what we can do. The size of the nucleus still has yet to be pinned down. The best data are still from the Hubble observations that Sean was talking about. So we're still right now in that range of somewhere in the vicinity of a couple of thousand feet to a couple of miles diameter, but we'll get better on that one.
Huge difference.
The shape of the nucleus is also difficult to pin down because generally we're not resolving it in our observations. It's obscured by the dust, and especially it's obscured by the reflected sunlight off of the dust in the inner part of the coma. But what observers from the ground have been able to do is observe the brightness of the center of the comet over time to see if there's a modulation of that brightness that would be an indication of rotation. And it's very difficult to discern. So what it's looking like so far is that there's not a big, the shape of the nucleus is not very far from being round. It's not, doesn't seem to be a big, or at least we're not seeing signatures of a very elongated object yet. There's a lot still to come there. I think you were also talking about origin. It would be great, it would be fabulous if we could trace back the incoming trajectory into the solar system and trace that back and figure out where it came from. But things are not quite so simple. Our galaxy, as Sean knows, is a big and complicated place. And the sun and all the other stars in our galaxy are in orbit around the center of the galaxy. And so 3I Atlas has been in interstellar space for a very long time. There is circumstantial evidence, given how fast it has come in to our solar system, that it came from some very old population, some solar system around a very old star. Quite possibly, we can't say this for sure, but the likelihood is it came from a solar system older than our own solar system itself, which gives me goosebumps to think about, frankly, because that means that 3I Atlas is not just a window into another solar system, it's a window into the deep past, and so deep in the past that it predates even the formation of our Earth and our sun.
Okay. Boy, people are going to run with that population comment.
I'll tell you right now. Phone bridge from Bill Harwood with CBS.
I'm not a fan of they're asking journalists that they can ask questions. Forget the journalist. I mean, can't they have access another way? Why aren't they letting you know, some normal people like one of us call in and like, just tell us if it's alien. That would be so much more exciting.
About this thing in the weeks leading up to this briefing today. I have two questions for anybody who would care to answer. One is, did any of you seriously, did you take seriously the proposition from some that this could be an alien spacecraft? I doubt
Let's go,
you did,
baby.
but I'm asking the question anyway. And number two, is there any evidence you see in any of the data you have that would fit an explanation like that? Or as far as you're concerned, does all of this data say conclusively that this is simply a comet that happens to be passing through the solar system? Thanks.
So I'll take that one, Bill, and thanks for the question.
I'll take that one, Bill.
All of the different science and all of the different kind of hypotheses into what these things can be. You know, when you start seeing something, you just got to point. You know, it's natural to wonder what it is. And we actually love, as Amit said, we love that the world wondered along with us. And that's such a cool thing. We certainly were able, because of the measurements that Sean described from the astrophysics telescopes that immediately turned on this object once we found it. And even, you know, I was interested, I just learned that we'd actually gone back and actually seen it before we even found it. So that was super cool. I just heard that from Sean. But, you know, we were very quickly able to look for sort of, you know, the easiest thing to do, I'll put it in a different way, is if you understand comets pretty well and you understand asteroids pretty well, you kind of know the signatures that you're looking for, and so you can sort of look for those quickly and tick them off and say, yep, it really does behave like a comet. The interesting thing that, you know, Tom, I know if I throw this to him in a second, he's going to geek out about it. But the really cool thing about this is the differences, because it comes from somewhere else. And that's why we're so excited about it. It's only the third time that we've been able to identify and track something coming from outside our own solar system. We've long predicted these things occur, and now, of course, we know better how to look for them, and we now have this amazing Atlas array. You know, we're expecting we'll find a lot more of them, but it was quick. We were quick to be able to say, yep, it definitely behaves like a comet. We certainly haven't seen any technosignatures or anything from it that would lead us to believe it was anything other than a comet. But the super cool thing is not that it's exactly like all the comets that we see in our solar system. It's the differences that are so tantalizing for us as you know, it gives me goosebumps too. It could be from something that existed before our own solar system. That is so cool. It's from something that predates even our own star. Yep, it's going to look different because it didn't come from our solar system, and that's what makes it so magical. You want to geek out a little bit, Tom?
You were geeking out so expertly, Nikki, to begin with.
Let's talk comments, people. This is definitely, let me geek out, squiggles. Okay, let's hear what he's going to say.
Variety, and I like to imagine if you're fortunate enough to have grown up in Hawaii and you only drank Kona coffee, you love your Kona coffee, and then somebody says to you, well, gee, have you tried Sumatran? You're going to say, well, do you expect it to be different? And they'll say, why don't you try this? And you try it and you say, wow, that's really different. And you realize, well, I expected this to be different because it was from someplace else. It was a different environment in Sumatra. Now, does that one sip of coffee tell you everything about the weather in Sumatra and the soil and the people who harvest the coffee? Bless them.
Actually, I can tell you quite a bit.
Not, but it's different, and yet it's still coffee. And that's what we have in this case. We have a cometary body. It behaves, it resembles the homegrown comets that we have in our solar system, and yet it's excitingly different in particular ways. It does the same thing comets do. It evaporates carbon dioxide gas. It evaporates water. But it's evaporating more carbon dioxide compared to water. So that's a very interesting thing. Comets evaporate dust, and the dust is broken down. The minerals are broken down by the ultraviolet light of the sun. And comets, we know comets put out nickel, they put out iron. That's what comets do. This particular one is putting out more nickel than iron. That's really interesting. really remarkable and something to be studied in the future. So we're always interested in new ideas. We're always interested in new suggestions. And all ideas are good when they're born. But those that stand the test of time, those that stand up to testing, those that are supported by the evidence are the ones that survive.
Okay. All right, we'll take our next question on the phone bridge.
Here's Avi, guys.
That one comes from Matthew Glasser with ABC.
Good afternoon. Thank you for doing this. Tom mentioned that the answers will come in time. I'm curious about what are some of the hopes that we might discover from this comet. What might it tell us about our planet, about our solar system, about the universe? Are there key things you're looking for as you start to analyze this data, and are you excited about anything in particular when it comes to better understanding how things are working out there?
Sure, I can take that. Every new object we discover is a new piece in the puzzle. What we're trying to do always is to understand the universe. That's part of the NASA mission, is to understand the solar system, understand the universe, understand the origin of planets, the origin of life. And that is a huge question, and we get little bits, little clues to parts of that puzzle, and we start trying to put that puzzle together. We have gained tremendous amount of information from hundreds of years of astronomical observation and from decades of in situ spacecraft observation has revealed our planets as actual places, not just points in the sky that you could barely see with your own eyes. We've learned about comets and asteroids, and we're beginning to put together a picture of how all of those planet-forming minerals and planet-forming ices came together to form our planets, and how our solar system changed over time. Just one example, we get a fascinating clue from the objects like Pluto that we've been discovering since the 1990s, the trans-Neptunian objects. The way they are distributed through space in the outer solar system show us clues to how the orbits of the major planets may have changed over time in the early solar system. A fascinating thing, and questions that we would never have thought to ask before we knew about these trans-Neptunian objects. Now, interstellar objects, like I said before, are new windows, and it's windows that we've never even looked out of before. So what we're going to find is way too early to predict, but I think we're getting a hint of the breadth, the wide spectrum of conditions that existed in different parts of the galaxy, in different solar systems.
I don't know why they're not indulging the, alien theory a little bit more. At least just talk about what some of those things would look like if it were, right? They just kind of brushed over that question and just, it's rumor. Like, that's what people want to know about. I don't know why they don't explore that a little bit more. Right. I mean, again, I think it's a comet, but why not tell people what some signatures would look like that would make you think it's not a comet? Does that make sense?
Frozen fossils from their moments of formation, including the things in and now from beyond our solar system, or in some cases, we point our telescopes at other debris disks, which is just, a whole system full of these small bodies. And so now what this will let us do is tell that story in a broader context between the detailed and large library of data we have on those origins of our own solar system, and how volatiles were delivered to make life possible here on Earth, combined with that big picture of other systems of the dust spread throughout those other solar systems.
Now, again, they have more pictures, and I am going to show this. I'm just waiting for this sort of live stream to end, but they do have far more pictures on their website, so we will get to that in a moment.
That frozen fossil, almost frozen time capsule, we're kind of privileged. I mean, it's come into our solar system, our sun. We know, we think it hasn't seen a star for a long time. So it's actually warming up and giving us more information. It isn't just about a frozen object coming through and us sort of saying, oh, look, there's a frozen object moving through. But as it's almost waking up and showing us its composition, and that's allowing us to be able to do this great science. If it had just remained frozen all the time, we wouldn't know much about it. But it is the sort of its rendezvous with our star that is allowing us to really do this amazing science. And that to me, it makes me feel almost privileged to actually be able to unlock the secrets as this cometary object is coming around and rendezvousing and interacting with our solar system.
All right, let's head over to social media. Nina on X asks, will it hit any planets in our solar system?
No, it will not. I think if you, obviously we're not going to run it again, but please, go online, take a look at go.nasa.gov/3i-atlas and take a look at the trajectory. I kind of talked through it briefly. Tom talked through it, and you can sort of see where those planets are. And remember this, even though it's exciting and it's coming through, space is huge, as both Sean and Tom talked about. And so the probability of it actually hitting anything is super, super small. You have to have all these things aligned to actually be able to do it. But certainly the objects in our solar system will be just fine.
And we have another question from social media from Astronomeum. They ask, what makes Comet 3I Atlas so different and intriguing compared to the other interstellar comets?
Tom, you want to take that?
The other interstellar objects, we say interstellar objects because not all of them were comets. So the first one was discovered in 2017. That was 1I Oumuamua that behaved very much like an asteroid. Again, a little bit like 3I Atlas, a very interesting asteroid, in some ways different from the asteroids we're accustomed to seeing in our solar system. For one thing, it was seemed to be very, very elongated, and while it was inactive, it seemed to be an inert, mostly rocky object. It did show indirect indications that it was evaporating gases in some way. It wasn't around long enough for us to get really, really comprehensive long-duration observations and understand exactly what it was doing. It was the very first one. We saw it for a short time when it was on its way out, in fact, and so we didn't get a great view of that. The second object, 2I Borisov, discovered in 2019, behaved, it was a comet. It was definitely a comet. It behaved in a lot of ways like our homegrown solar system comets, in many ways like 3I Atlas. Its properties were more in line with what we're used to seeing, and the comet observers regarded it as very much akin to our solar system comets, although in some ways a little bit at the edge of what we're used to seeing. 3I Atlas is in a lot of ways like 2I Borisov, but a bit more out there in terms of things like the carbon dioxide to water ratio.
All right, Svetlana on LinkedIn asks, will the observational data from this campaign be available for open analysis?
Absolutely. Every piece of NASA data, we are delighted to share. We've had open data policy at NASA for a long time. We make a big effort not just to release the data, but also to make sure it's usable, so you can get the tools and things to actually analyze the data as well. And we invite everybody to look at this comet with us. If you're able to take your own images through like citizen science programs, we love that too. We love everybody to be sharing in the joy of NASA science as we take every opportunity to take advantage of these incredible visitors to our solar system.
And that citizen science campaign, that includes work that citizens help us do to identify small bodies in our solar system. And so if you really want to get engaged beyond just looking at the data, you can help us generate new data and find other objects for us to study.
Yep, the big one, our solar, our SOHO, big comet finder, big comet tracker. So many of those comets discovered by our citizen scientists. So keep those observations coming.
All right, we'll head back over to the phone bridge. Our next question comes from Ken Chang with the New York Times.
Hi, thank you. This is for Tom and Nikki. One, of the measurements made so far, what is uniquely different about this comet, other than the trajectory, of course? And two, since perihelion, it looks like there are multiple jets. I was wondering if you could talk about that and the speculation that it might have exploded. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. So some of the differences I already mentioned is the ratio, the carbon dioxide to water ratio, the nickel to iron ratio. Also, there were ground-based observations noting that the polarization of the light reflected off the dust was also unusual. So that's telling us some interesting things about the dust. There are other indications that the physical properties of this dust, maybe the grain size distribution, might be different from the sorts of things that we're used to. The appearance of a sunward tail early on in the trajectory was part of that, an indication that the dust was being pushed off the comet on the sunward side, and then it took a while for the solar radiation pressure to push it back the other way. That's been seen before in other comets, but not very often. I'm sorry, Ken, what was the second part of the question?
Did it?
Perihelion.
Yeah.
Is it alien?
Right. So seeing activity, seeing more activity in the inner coma around the nucleus right around the time of perihelion, when it's being warmed most intensely, is something that happens frequently. That's something the comet observers are going to be very, very excited about. It does take some time to figure out, because it takes time for the actual event that happens on the surface to propagate out to a distance where you can see it with a telescope, but people are going to be mapping what jets there are. It doesn't necessarily mean there was an explosion. Jets can also just mean there are particularly active areas on the surface of the comet where more volatile stuff is evaporating in that one spot than elsewhere and jetting out. We saw this a decade ago with the ESA Rosetta mission at Comet 67P. It got up close and personal with the nucleus and saw frequently that there were jets coming out from specific places on the nucleus of the comet. So that could very well be what's going on here. Can't tell for sure, but that's the sort of thing we've seen before.
The other thing I just want to say that we're expecting to see as more stuff gets thrown off this comet in these jets is at those warmer temperatures, additional things can bake off of it, additional gases can bake off, and so we do expect the composition of the coma to potentially change, or those jets to change over time. And looking at the details of what other molecules we detect beyond the carbon dioxide and water we mentioned is also going to be interesting, especially for that sort of like, what was this stuff? What was the area in this? What was this stuff made of in the area it was made, like long time ago?
Our next question is from David Chandler with Sky and Telescope.
Yes.
Let's go.
A couple of things. Have you any of these observations showing you anything about any non-gravitational accelerations at this point? And also, can you say a little bit about coming attractions? What observations are in the pipeline that have been made but not released yet? I think the MRO high-rise observations, has that been released yet? And what else is there that's either in the can and waiting to come out, or observations that will be made over the coming weeks as the object comes closer to Earth?
I can answer some of that about the non-gravitational accelerations. This is something that we look very closely at for every comet, because that's always something that happens. And just to back up to explain what the question is that as comets evaporate, they are blowing off gas, they are blowing off dust, and every time something gets pushed off the comet, that acts like a little rocket engine at that moment and pushes in the other direction. And so it's very, very common to see comets have subtle changes in their orbits as a result of these little rocket forces, just called non-gravitational accelerations. So this is being monitored very closely. I spoke to our orbit determination team at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory earlier this week, and what they said is that this is being monitored. There are some changes to the orbit, but the uncertainties are still fairly large. It's difficult because we can't see the nucleus directly. It's difficult to get a very, very precise track on exactly where it's going. But so far, the non-gravitational accelerations have been very much on par with the sort that we see in solar system comets.
In terms of future observations, this is a situation where, because this is only the third time we've had an opportunity to look at an object like this, everyone that is in control of a telescope wants to look at it because it's a fascinating and rare opportunity. I know that our colleagues from the Keck Observatory have looked at it. I believe that we're going to look at it again with JWST in December. We have some other ground-based facilities that are giving us additional compositional information as those additional molecules bake off of 3I Atlas. Those are the things I'm aware of. There's probably a lot more that I'm not, because like I said, like every astronomer wants to get data on this thing because it's such a rare opportunity.
Yeah, and the high-rise image that you asked about specifically, Amit kind of rolled that out at the beginning. So please take a look at that image. I think Sean is not bragging a lot on what these astrophysics telescope. I don't know why, but because we are able to look at it in infrared with the James Webb Space Telescope, that will be the last time we can see the comet. So as it is exiting the solar system and getting further and further away, the James Webb Space Telescope will actually be able to track it longer than anyone else, partly because of its ability to kind of look long and deep rather than sort of across and wide, and the fact that it looks in the ultraviolet, so in the infrared, so it can kind of see the dark objects. And so I'm really excited about just sort of tracking it to the very end. Also noted, we're downlinking data from missions. I mentioned Parker Solar Probe because I just heard before we came on that we'd got some data and we'd seen the comet. I haven't had time to look at the data yet, but all of those things are coming up as we are getting more and more data coming down to us from those missions. And then as both Sean and Tom talked about, just really making sure we're sharpening up those images and really making sure they're calibrated. Right now we're putting out almost the raw images. We're putting out things quickly so everyone can see them, but we'll take some time and
you're
do
not
some,
putting it out
real
quickly.
Sort of deep looking into those and do some more of the spectroscopy. Tom showed a really great example of kind of looking through the atmosphere of Mars, take out that hydrogen, take out the hydrogen from our solar system, and then let us look at the hydrogen that's coming from the comet. So we'll be doing a lot more of that as we move on to do great things with NASA science.
All right, that's a great lead into our next question on social media. Elijah on X asks, what kind of processing were the images subjected to and why did they need it?
Great question. Great question.
The images that were released received the sort of standard processing that we do between the raw data that comes down into a telescope. That, as Nikki said, we need to make sure for scientific accuracy that they're calibrated against the other observations, and we account for anything that the telescope is doing in that moment. And so that it would be our standard set of calibrations and normalizations for a object of this type, which is to say a comet.
I can add a little bit more to that. As Nikki said, our desire was to get these images out to the public as quickly as possible, and so
quick,
there
guys,
are
so quick.
some image artifacts in there that you'll see, and I can speak to the Lucy image that you saw previously. If you look at the comet, you'll see some blobs around the comet. Little blobs, faint blobs around the comet are not real. It came from the fact that in order to get this particular view, it was necessary, which is this backlit view, the team had to turn the spacecraft to face more toward the sun than it generally does. And so that means some part of the spacecraft were in the sun, and some of that bright, the sunlight reflected off parts of the spacecraft got into the camera, and that resulted in those little blobs. So that's an example of processing that has yet to be done to figure out exactly what that scattered light contribution was and remove that from the image so that what we show in the image is entirely what was there in the sky and not something just made by sun glints off the spacecraft hardware.
Yeah, and sometimes I think you showed the SOHO image where we actually stacked a couple of images, because a single image you wouldn't be able to see it would be too faint, but if we stack a couple of images together, then you can actually start to really make out what that comet looks like.
Okay, next, Gail on Facebook asks, how can an object like 3I Atlas come from so far, moving as fast as it is, and not hit anything?
Orbital dynamics, and space is really, really huge. And so, it is amazing to think about just how big even our solar system. And so to give you the Voyager spacecraft, Voyager 1, is now 1 light day away from Earth, which means when we send a command or we send a photon from Earth, it takes a full day for that photon to arrive at Voyager. And Voyager is only just outside kind of what we think of as the edge of our solar system. And so space is vast. yes, this thing is moving quickly, and yes, it came from outside our solar system. But you know, the probability of it actually hitting something is so small, because everything has to align. It's also not quite in the ecliptic plane. It's not quite in like our normal, if you think about sort of looking side on at our solar system with the sun.
Guys, there are pictures. They did show them. As soon as we're done here, I am going to show all the other pictures that they didn't show, because they have a bunch on their website. So we're going to get to that. We're just kind of waiting for this to sort of peter out here, but we'll get there.
If I can play with a scale model solar, if you make a scale model solar system where the sun and the Earth are 1 foot apart, that's about 1 foot. The sun is a P. The Earth, you need a magnifying glass to see, it's so small. The entire solar system will just barely fit in your house if you squeeze a little bit, and the next nearest star is over 50 miles away. So they call it space for a reason. Most of it is space.
Okay, we'll head back to our phone bridge. Our next question is from
They call
Brandon
it
Spector
space
with
for
Live
a
Science.
reason.
Hi, I wanted to ask about the age of the comet. You mentioned there's circumstantial evidence that it's much older than our solar system, but how can we constrain that age a little more? And what will that tell us if it is indeed much, much older than the solar system?
I can start that, but I'm going to pass it to Sean to talk about ages in the galaxy.
Okay.
So,
What's funny is that guy, and the first guy who spoke hasn't spoken at all since. He's not answering any questions, and he was the one to dispel all the, quote, rumors. I'm just saying. But I do think this is a comet. Okay, even Avi Loeb admitted he thinks it's a comet.
to get a better handle on what the distribution of ages is. So what's going on here is that it takes the sun 240 million years to orbit around the center of the galaxy, and we're doing that with a neighborhood of stars. So we're all going around the center of the galaxy. The relative motions between stars in our solar neighborhood is sort of 10-ish, 15, and sorry, I have all these numbers in my head in metric because that's the way I learned them, but 10 or 15-ish kilometers per second. So what is that? That's about 25,000 miles an hour, I think. And 3I Atlas is coming through at a speed of 60-something kilometers per second. So that's 3 times faster than the average of our local neighborhood, which is telling us that it's coming from a different population from what we have generally around us. Now, Sean will be able to clarify the age dispersion relation in our galaxy, which tells us, which has been discovered over the last century studying stars in the galaxy, that the relative speeds of stars is an indicator of age. Stars that formed older in our galaxy over time increase their random motions for reasons that Sean will explain. And so that's the circumstantial evidence that makes us think that
Y'all, I'm so ready to talk about this and get to the pictures. Trust me, I'm just feel like we need to let them finish this out a little bit here. We'll go as long as we need to. Don't worry, I'm antsy. I'm antsy as fuck, y'all.
We were with you, and we
brag about our telescopes and the James Webb Space Telescope in particular.
Go for it.
This blows my mind. We have data from galaxies closer to the origin of the universe than we have data from rocks closer to the origin of Earth, right? In other words, like if you pick up the oldest rock that we have from Earth, it is further away from the origin of Earth in terms of hundreds of millions of years than the amount of time there was between the origin of the universe and the earliest galaxies that JWST has now observed. And that's part of this story of how well we understand not just the history of our home planet, but the history of the entire universe that it's a part of. And now this is just another part of that story of the local neighborhood that our solar system is a part of.
All right, our last question for today comes from X and asks if we can see grains of sand on Mars. How is the clearest photo we can see for 3I Atlas what we've seen?
So because we're closer to the grains of sands on Mars, right? And so the JWST can only get like these single pixel blobs of the faintest galaxies, the furthest away galaxies in our universe. And because 3I Atlas is in our solar system, we can get the images and the compositional information with JWST. As it got closer to some of the planetary spacecraft Tom was talking about, they can't even see these galaxies, but because 3i Atlas was closer to them than they were to JW, they got really good images of those of the object as it passed by.
Right, as you said, we can image individual grains on Mars because we have spacecraft standing on Mars.
Right.
But even our closest spacecraft to 3i Atlas, we're still 19 million miles away.
And it's going too fast for us to send something there to, like, you know, intercept and get that close to it. So that's just not, that we just don't have the, if we could, we would, like, we would be there up close and getting those grains.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to follow along with NASA as we continue to observe 3i Atlas. Find new images, detailed information, and resources by visiting go.nasa.gov/3i-atlas and by following NASA Solar System on social media. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for joining NASA. All right. Okay, y'all. Well, that was interesting. First, let me just respond to this. Martin Sampson, getting boring. I get it. Can't wait to see your psionics documentary. Me too. All right. So look, they did put up way more pictures than they showed. That's what we're going to go over now. So let me get that pulled up. And now we can get to the good stuff, y'all. Man, I was antsy there. I'm not going to lie. I was antsy. I was ready. I did put a link down below to that live stream if you want to watch it, you know, on replay without me in there. But let's pull this up. Let's start looking at some of these images here. Booyah. All right. Let's see here. Okay, let's go to the top here. So this is the 3i Atlas image gallery. It says below are a variety of images and videos of the interstellar comet 3i Atlas as observed by NASA missions. Click through for more information and to view and download. Okay, so you guys can go download this. You can, all of that. Okay, and I tell you what I'll do is, real quick, I already did it before, but I put a link in the comments. I'll put another one here, so if you want to check it out for yourself. Okay, there we go. But let's take a closer look at these. So let me see if they go in any particular order. All right. I say let's go backwards. Let's start with the new ones. What do you say? So this is interesting. So there's nothing newer than October 15th through 16th, which is over a month. Okay. So, okay, well, let's take a closer look here. And, all right. So this says the image credit is the Lowell Observatory in, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, Qinching. And we did see this one. Oh, it's not showing that, is it? Okay, hang on. Oh, son of a bitch. All right, it's going to make me... All right, hang on. It's of course, it's going to put it on different tabs. So I got to switch every single time. Good Lord. All right. So there we go. So that's one there that we saw. Which, again, not too exciting here. Just, it's a blob. I mean, you know, it's just a blob. Right? Let's go back. Okay. So I see they got, so I guess we did see all of them. So this is all from Mars here. I mean, you know, you really just can't see anything Oh, we got some gifts. Let's see right here. Okay, interesting. Oh, what's that thing that passes by? It's weird, right? What the fuck is that? I mean, look. All right. So look, to be fair here, okay, I'm just gonna be honest. I do think this is a comet. I don't think it's an alien spacecraft. And not for any reason like I know more than anybody else. It just nobody is saying, even Avi Loeb, who's the one been out talking about, could be alien. He admits it's a comet. He's pretty sure it's just a natural object, a comet. But again, best way to clone yourself or cloak yourself would be to just look like a comet. I mean, now it makes me think if there is alien spacecraft, you just make it look like a comet. And, that's how you would get closer to a planet without them thinking anything, right? You look and act like a comet. A wolf in sheep's clothing. That would be the best. But, I can't just lie to you guys and tell you, oh, yeah, keep milking this and, telling you it could be alien. I don't think it is. So I'm sure that may, not trying to anger anybody, just telling you how I really feel. But it is interesting to think about. And I think this was a missed opportunity by NASA, in my opinion. A missed opportunity to talk about what maybe a spacecraft like that would look like coming in and what signatures or what would they be looking at to make them think it could be something else. Because it's not so crazy to think there's other life in the universe, right? Just like this comet coming in, there's eventually something, So I just think they had a missed opportunity there because I think a lot of people wanted to know that, or at least talk about that, and they just kind of they did their best to be like, yeah, we love talking about these things and considering it and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, okay, don't talk down to us like we're children here, right? Like it was a missed opportunity to educate. That's what I feel. It was a missed opportunity to educate because I definitely, a lot of people tuned in just to learn more about the comet and this and that, okay, and geek out, sure. But a lot of people tuned in to be like, hey, is this aliens? And I really just think they missed an opportunity there to really address some things. But some of these pictures aren't, really anything. We've seen a lot of this stuff, And, someone was saying, I have seen much better images from some of the, citizen astronomers who've put up some stuff. I mean, because none of this really looks like anything. So I tell you what, let's do this, okay? Because everyone could go look at these pictures. There's nothing really there to look at. Let's just indulge a little bit that this could be alien. Okay, let's have some fun here. So most recently, I'm going to pull up a clip here. Okay, from Chris Ramsey. Y'all know him from Area 52, right? He had someone on, a remote viewer named Angela Ford, and she remote viewed 3I Atlas. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Right? Let's just have some fun here. So give me a second. Let me pull that up. And we'll find it together. Okay. Hang on. Let's bring it up. Okay. All right, let me find it. She's said she was part of Stargate and some other things. Right, she's a remote viewer. I'm trying to look if it's... Oh, okay, Atlas. She even wrote some notes down. Now let's go back a little. Shout out Chris Ramsey if you're not familiar with his channel, which I don't know how you wouldn't be. Great channel, does great stuff. Please check out his channel. And I actually really wanted to make a video about this interview because I did some remote viewing myself over the summer for my psionics documentary, which you'll be able to see me doing the remote viewing in the film. Actually, along with Gino from Y-Files, who accompanied me on a big portion of the trip, and he's heavily featured in the documentary. Gino is, and Gino and I both did remote viewing, and very interesting. I gotta admit, it was very interesting. And you want to know who was really good at remote viewing between Gino and I? Gino. I was actually quite surprised how accurate he was on some things. Even I was kind of taken aback a little bit by it. It's like, it's not exact, but it's close. And maybe it's just, you start connecting dots on your own. But at the same time, not, because I've done remote viewing one time before shooting the documentary, and it was more just casual over like Discord. So it wasn't like visual, this was in person. I'd never done it like that. And it was an interesting thing to partake in. And, you can be so off it's wrong and you just don't see a connection. But with Gino's, man, he was more accurate than I was just surprised. Let's just put it that way. So anyway, look forward to that. That won't be too much longer before we got a trailer out. But anyway, let's take a look here at Angela Ford on Chris Ramsey's show, talking about 3i Atlas and remote viewing it. And let's just indulge this, okay? Let's have a little fun. Again, I personally think it's just a comment. But hey, who knows, right? Let's see what she has to say.
I'm sure by a lot of people. Okay. Well, this is interesting. Always good questions.
Okay.
Love that thing he's got behind him. It's so cool.
Have you RV'd or have an opinion on 3i Atlas, its origin and nature by Andy Lee Fisher?
Are you aware of this giant asteroid that's like...
Oh, yeah, it's supposed to be coming or something?
Yeah, some people are saying it's a big alien ship. Other people are saying it's an asteroid.
I have not remote viewed it. I'm very interested in it, and I may go remote view it, but I'm very, very interested. I hope it is something exciting.
I certainly hope it's something exciting.
Yeah, but no, I have not remote.
They do.
Well, I will go home and do it, and I will email you my results. Absolutely,
that would be amazing. We'll if we can do that within the next week or so, I can probably attach that to this segment here.
Okay.
And people can see the result. That would be very exciting. Cool. All right.
Okay, I can't really read that. Here we go. Baffling scientist, very fast movement, pushing forward, very colorful, has drive, was designed, not harmful to the human. To the human race. Once studied, 3i Atlas will prove beneficial to us. My feeling is that 3i Atlas is accidentally veered off course because Atlas 3i was designed.
Thank you, Andy Lee Fisher. Great question. Also something out.
Design. Let's go back to that. Because Atlas 3i was designed leads to alien technology. So, okay. I mean, just going to be real. Okay, gonna be raw. Not trying to piss anybody off, but I feel I'm about to. She says she's never heard of it. What is that? What's 3i? I don't know anything about it. What? Get out of here. You tell me you haven't seen all the news about that? That just seems very unlikely, and I'll tell you why. Because a lot of remote viewers have done it and published their stuff online, and the remote viewing community is very small. So in my opinion, that seems highly unlikely that she had never seen it. I just don't know if I buy that. I'm sorry. But, you know, not trying to call her a liar. Maybe she just forgot, or maybe they were talking about it and she didn't know it was this same thing. I don't know, but that just seems so unlikely. So many people had remote viewed it. Again, the remote viewing community is small. So, and she's one of the leaders. She's very famous in it. Seems very unlikely. And everything she wrote is exactly what's in the news. Right? Everything she talked about is in the news. Let's go back. Let's look at it again. Baffling scientist. Well, it's not really baffling any scientist, at least not in the sense that it's made to make you, imply to you. They're baffled more by it. And I'm not saying whether they're right or wrong. I'm just saying they're more baffled that it's doing things that other comets don't do, and they find that particularly interesting. And again, at the end of the day, do we really know if it's an alien spaceship? I mean, yes, I guess everyone could be wrong. Again, even Avi Loeb is saying it's a comet. So don't be misconstrued that he has said that. Okay? He definitely said that multiple times, that he thinks it's just a natural object, right? He just wants to push people to think further outside the box about these things. And that I agree with. I totally agree with that. My only issue with Avi Loeb and what he did is he came out and said, there's a 40% chance it's an alien spaceship. And people are like, he only said 40% chance. 40%? That is, 40% chance on anything is crazy. I mean, I would go all in on a pot in Texas Hold'em on a 40% chance sometimes, right? Like more than like that. That's a lot. 40% is huge. If I told you you had a 40% chance of dying tomorrow, I promise you would take that seriously. So that was the only thing. And granted, that was his own Avi Loeb scale. But then again, when he was pressed on it, yeah, he said he would bet that it was a natural object, a comet. He does think that. Again, it's just about, it wasn't about that this is an alien spaceship. It was more that we need to be thinking about that, and that's okay. And again, that's why I said NASA missed an opportunity there to really educate and talk about, well, what things could make it seem like an alien spaceship or craft from another civilization, as if talking about another civilization is so crazy. It's not. That's not crazy at all. That is so normal. The way we see other planets, we're not the only planet in the universe, right? There are bazillion planets. Well, tell you what, there are probably a bazillion civilizations out there. So the idea that some craft could be coming through here from another one, isn't that nuts? We sent out probes. And we're monkeys that wear clothes, So I just think they missed an opportunity to focus on that a little bit more and talk about that a little bit more instead of squiggles and wiggles and whatever the fuck they were talking about, which is fine. Okay, I'm not trying to knock them. I'm just saying, and NASA has a little history of doctoring stuff and this and, and now they're like a spy agency. And granted, that has to do with like labor and workforce and stuff. Not really, but who knows? I don't know, right? It's just so confusing. But back to this remote viewing thing, baffling scientists, very fast movement, pushing forward, very colorful. I mean, these are literally just things you could find online about it. Like there's nothing here. Has drive, was design. How do you know that? How do you know it's design? You don't. And that's what remote viewing is. You're just guessing on images that are in your head. That's what remote viewing is. You at least when I did it, right? It's like, okay, close your eyes, an image comes, and you just sort of describe it. Now, there's different ways. Some people before you actually draw the image. So if you notice at the very top here, she draws the image, right? Like object, right? She draws that object. Well, you actually do that last. So technically you're supposed to sort of write things out first that you're feeling about it, right? Smell, sense of, sounds. And she didn't really do any of that, right? What's the smell, sounds, put yourself there, feeling, none of that. So that's interesting remote viewing she's doing. Not saying there's a cookie cutter way to do it, but there are protocols that I learned from other people who do it. So I don't know, but teach their own. And then of course you do draw the object, you do draw the thing. And that's usually the big focus, is the thing you draw. Of course, some of the notes you make. But I find her comments about the comet just interesting. Again, just all stuff you'd find online. And then has drive, was designed. So these are just things she's thinking. She's remote viewing, she's thinking that. And so she's just writing it down. Not harmful to the human race. Okay. Again, these aren't predictions from her. This is just, she remote viewed it, and this is what she came up with, and she's just sharing it. There's really no way to know if you're right? One studied 3i Atlas will prove beneficial to us. It's funny that she writes 3i Atlas, and then when she goes further, she writes Atlas 3i, right? On this space. So there's a space here. So those are probably the initial things, and then afterwards she's adding this other stuff here. And to be honest, it looks like a different person wrote this. Well, maybe not. The 3i looks the same, but she wrote Atlas differently. I guess it is the same person. But my feeling is the Atlas 3i accidentally veered off course. Okay, so she's writing my feelings now. Okay. So because Atlas 3i was designed leads to alien technology. So I don't know. It's hard to tell how effective remote viewing is in this sense, just for that reason, right? It's hard to tell. But look, that's interesting. That is interesting. Because again, there were other remote viewers who looked at this. All right, so I'll tell you what, let's look at a few other people that allegedly remote viewed this. Remote view 3i, yeah, here we go. Here we go. All right, let's see here. Let's bring this up. I get it, y'all. I'm sure I might anger some of y'all that I'm not indulging this as being a alien spaceship and just kind of pushing that. And I can't do that. I can't lie to y'all about how I really feel about it. It may upset some of y'all, but I can't just lie and just, tell you it's an alien spaceship or I think it's an alien spaceship when I don't actually think that. And I realize more people would probably be happy with me if I did, but, you may never like what I say or don't always agree with me, but at least know it's how I really feel. I won't ever lie about how I feel, even if it pisses you off. Might make you happy. I don't know. I don't really worry about that. You're going to get the raw. You're going to get the real from me, good or bad. All right, let's take a look here.
A lot of people are talking about that right now. Hot button topic.
Right. So I remote viewed the objects first, and I basically was determining that it was more of a craft, more of a mothership.
Okay.
I'm not the only one who came up with this idea. Like I already basically express it to other people I know. And a lot of other remote viewers have also been saying that, yeah, I can confirm whatever you've been seeing. And then more recently, I was in touch with a person, like a scientist. So I spoke to an astrophysicist who worked at CERN, and she opened up to what she experienced there. And I was quite amazed by the content. So indirectly, she was introduced to me from a person in the intelligence world, and she felt compelled to address it. She was more of a consultant working for CERN.
Okay.
And as a young person, she was basically at the same time shocked and excited about what she saw and what she heard. And the content of that was at CERN, they've used their collider to open up a portal to communicate with extraterrestrial beings.
Whoa.
And one of them are the occupants from 3i Atlas.
Okay.
What? I'm sorry. What? So, people at CERN opened a portal, aliens came through, and they are actually from occupants from 3i Atlas? Did I hear that right? Is that what he said?
That's an incredible statement.
With extraterrestrial beings.
Yeah.
And the content of that was at CERN, they've used their collider to open up a portal to communicate with extraterrestrial beings.
Whoa.
And one of them are the occupants from 3i Atlas.
Okay. That's an incredible statement. So you remote viewed 3i Atlas. Did you do that on your own, or were you tasked with this assignment?
I was tasked by the same intelligence people I'm working with to look at the object, because those had concerns. But what I saw as a remote viewer was a mothership with occupants on board, and they were mostly Draco reptilian occupants.
Okay.
Reptilians.
What, I saw as a remote viewer. And
and that was corroborated by other remote viewers seeing the same thing.
That's correct. Yes.
The ship and Draco.
That's correct. One of them is John Vivenko, who is also a known remote viewer. And he announced it publicly as well. And other people from the Stargate program as well. So they basically all came up with the same idea. And when I was asked to talk to this astrophysicist, I was kind of surprised because I had no contacts at CERN directly. And then all of a sudden I was talking to this woman, and she was telling me that the portal that was opening up to speak to those beings was already in existence, like almost like in a boardroom setting. So they show up and then they interact with scientists and communicate directly with them.
Okay, wait. So I know this is some of our audience might understand what you're saying, but to be clear, CERN already has a room and a technology to open a portal to talk to extraterrestrials.
Yes.
But recently, they also used it to communicate with the beings on 3i Atlas.
That's correct.
Okay, go on.
So those beings introduced themselves as such, like I said, we are the occupants of this object. I don't know exactly what were the exact communication to address the object, if they say it was 3i Atlas or something else, I don't know. But somehow the scientists knew it was from 3i Atlas for what was coming.
Okay.
And they did not show up physically. They show up as holograms. Now,
Holograms, he said.
I didn't really know how they look like. So I didn't really ask the question, which is kind of...
You just said that they're reptilians. You literally just said that they were reptilians. So, I mean, how do you know that? I hadn't heard of this. I think I might have to do a little video on this, right? Just really sum up everything with 3i Atlas, some of this remote viewing, CERN, having a portal to talk to aliens, and then they're also communicating with the occupants of 3i Atlas who are reptilians, but then also this guy's saying, he doesn't know. But this is on Gaia. Not saying, anything about Gaia, I don't know. Initially, I was just like, oh, Gaia's just horse shit. But, I know some people go on there and whatever. I'm not trying to dog that. That just seems rude of me. So I don't want to do that. Teach their own. Maybe there's some things on there worth watching. And that's what this is on. This is on Gaia. The CERN thing is interesting. Yeah, I hadn't heard of that. A portal Maybe I have heard of that. Was that a woman that came out and said that? Some scientist or something? This blonde-haired woman? That could be it, what I saw. I don't know. Guys, I cover so many things and I look at so many things. I guess sometimes I get a little confused with it. But I think I'm going to have to do a video on this and really bring it all together. Right? A 3i atlas, just let's bring it all together on this. All right, let's hear a little bit more. I wish I had a better video, but this is the one we're working with here. Whoa, that is a bad pause. My bad, dude.
See of me, but they apparently showed up as holograms. They looked tall. That's what she said, and they communicated telepathically with every single scientist in the room.
Wow!
And they all got the same message, which is that they are coming in peace, and they're just trying to come over here to gather all the star seeds of his planet. That's pretty much to me. It's kind of a cryptic message. I don't know what that means exactly, but that's how they introduce themselves as to come here.
So when you remote viewed, did you pick up on that intention as well?
Yes and no. I believe that the direct reptilians, will be coming to Earth, but as to know what the exact intent, that I couldn't really say.
Well, this is an extraordinary development.
It is, yeah. So you know that 3 Atlas is always like shaping up. So right now it's actually on its way to the sun, and it's going towards Mars, and the directions of it is actually getting closer to Mars. So it's changing directions.
That's unusual.
We know that it changed colors, right? So it went from red hue colors to green colors, which is the presence of nickel, without the presence of iron, which is not seen in any comets or in the space in general. And it had a light on the front of it, which was not as a coma. The light was coming from the front, and it was shining over 100 kilometers ahead. But the energy field emanating from that comet is too strong and too powerful to be just a regular natural comet, basically.
You're calling it a comet, but
yeah, it's not. I don't think it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fascinating. So, what do you think they mean by gathering up the star seeds?
Yeah, that's kind of a twofold situation for me. Like, they could be, if they are truly coming over to help humanity, and they're not direct reptilians, and they could be Anunnaki or they could be another race, then their intentions may be to help, the star seeds to evolve to the next level.
Okay, so it could be positive.
It could be very positive. If this the other way around, and the direct reptilians decides to eliminate or take off or get rid of the star seeds of his planet because they could be a potential threat to their existence in the future and now, then I believe this threat could be easily averted, and that's what I picked up as well from the Galactic Alliance, that they will be coming over and come to Earth and save humanity, basically, for saving their own.
Interesting. Who is this for? Right? He's saying this, like, who is he talking to? Who is this for? What? Am I wrong here? There's people thinking this guy's legit. Like, how does he know all this? Where's he getting all this information? Like, you don't just get this from, quote, remote viewing. Like, I'm always so fascinated by people who just talk so confidently, but out their ass. You know what I mean? That's usually who talks the most confidently. When you're talking out your ass, you really sell it with confidence. I'm not saying none of this is right. I'm not trying to make fun of or anyone that believes this. I'm just saying, me personally, where's the evidence? Where's the proof of any of this? I can only indulge it for so long before it's like, you need to show proof of this or evidence, something more than just a remote viewed it. That's not enough. Not for an alien spaceship headed for Earth. I'm gonna need to see a little proof. Sorry, Sebastian. Your friend told you that this was happening. Like, it's like, you know what I mean? We ask our standard of proof for so many, like if someone were to debunk this, people would be like, show me the proof. I need to see the evidence. But when it's like the other way, What proof? What does that mean? Proof. What is that word? I never heard that word before. So it's hard for me to really take this seriously, just being real here. Okay. Not saying we're not going to watch some of it and talk about it. I'm just saying I don't buy any of this personally. Again, he's shown no proof. All he's done is talk with no proof. And okay, let's keep going.
Okay. And when you say coming to Earth, is the mothership going to actually approach Earth, or
no?
Probes and smaller vessels will come out and
Yeah, what I picked up was
okay,
like 3 Atlas would never show up to Earth, and then probably like a few thousand ships would just come out of it, and then
a few thousand ships will come out of it. Probably, he says, probably
come to Earth, and that would be part of like the open disclosure that you will see them everywhere around the planet at that point.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to keep a lid on disclosure in that scenario.
Right.
So is the SSP preparing for this? Is NASA preparing for this moment?
They prepared for this for a while. So they were already aware of their arrival. They were already aware that the spaceship was coming in and that they were intervening and trying to get towards them on the back of the sun before the approach, happened. Like they already knew.
Okay, they already knew. So again, as much as I have a problem trusting all of NASA as well, right? I also have a tough time trusting this guy. It's like, can we ever just get a straight answer from anybody? Even this guy, he's not showing any evidence or proof of what he's saying, right? So, oh man. It's interesting to think about, but what's he going to do when it doesn't happen, or if it doesn't happen? Let's just be, fair here, I guess. If this doesn't happen, is he going to come back on Gaia and go, "I was wrong"? No, he won't. And these people never do. They make these predictions, and when it's wrong, they never come back and say, "I was wrong." All they do is say they move the goalpost. Well, they called it off at the last second, y'all. Or the ships are here. You don't see them? They're here. They're hidden. They're cloaked. Can't see them. So that's my problem. I would actually respect more a remote viewer or guy who makes predictions if they got some stuff wrong. We're like, yeah, I was wrong. I probably would respect that a little bit more, to be fair. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I thought this was happening and it didn't happen. But instead, they'll move the goalposts and, they never explain why. Shout out, hang on, y'all. Shout out to Team Alaska, gifted 5 vetted memberships. That is awesome, y'all. Okay, that's not a small thing. So thank you so much. There's some members-only content down there to go check out. Please check it out. I'm actually going to be uploading 3 interviews for members only this week. Okay, 3 interviews. I am going to cover them briefly in a video to just give you a little tease, but the full interviews are going to go for members only on YouTube or Patreon. So that should be pretty exciting. And let's cover a couple more super chats here that I sort of missed real quick. So again, shout out Team Alaska. Thank you so much. You rock. And some of y'all are randomly going to get chosen to have a free month of membership with Vetted. Android, why do you think the amateur telescope photo was far more detailed than NASA? What's the scientific explanation? It seems highly suspicious. I agree. That's interesting. I'm not smart enough to know that. I could pretend and try to answer this, right? I'm not smart enough to answer that question. I don't know, but I'm with you. It is interesting. I have seen far more detailed images from amateurs. So, that's a good point. Why aren't all these NASA people like at the office setting up all these telescopes that clearly other people have? You know what I mean? Like, it is strange. So that is interesting, and I'm sure someone far smarter than me could potentially explain that. But I agree, that's an interesting point. because amateurs have been putting up better quality stuff for 3i Atlas. But I would ask, are we confirming that it is 3i Atlas that these amateur, astronomers are putting up? Are they are we able to confirm that is what they're showing you, or are we just taking their word? Does that make sense? What I'm saying here, right? Are we assuming that that's what it is, or they proved that that's 3i Atlas? That's what I'm showing you, because we'd have to start there before we start. Well, why are these photos better? Well, hang on. Let's check the validity. And are they also doing any doctoring to the photos? Don't know. And to be fair, some of this stuff has to be doctored to some extent. But again, that just opens the door for maybe we're not getting the full truth. And, it's interesting. The only way we're going to know if 3i Atlas is an alien spaceship, truly, is if it just shows up on Earth one day, right? Just in the next couple months, because it's going to be gone soon, right? And so if that doesn't happen, then I guess we know. Or maybe it leaves and they think we left, and then it comes back around, right? And, that's, interesting. And a good question, Android. And a good discussion to have. See, that's a good question, because no matter what the answer is for this question that Android asked, it opens the discussion for a lot of things, right? Astronomers, amateur telescope, right? Now you can start discussing these other things. So that's a really good question to ask, and questions like that are always really good because it expands the conversation in other ways, regardless of aliens, right? So great question, man. All right, hang on. Let's continue with Sebastian Matan.
So I think they are talking about interception, or maybe potentially talks. So I think there are some communications going on.
Okay.
As to know how successful they will be, that I'm not sure. But I know from firsthand that that's what they are planning on doing, if it hasn't already happened.
Okay, so
he knows firsthand, y'all. Problem solved. Problem solved. He knows firsthand. Doing proof. He just said, firsthand. I don't need any proof. Why isn't the first question that interviewer asked when he's told that is, where's your proof for any of this? Or what's the, whatever, man. It's like, something I learned about the James thing that came out, right? The drilling and all that. I learned that a lot of people don't really want to know the truth. And, when I even think about it more, it's not that they don't want to know the truth or aren't interested in the truth. It's that we've been lied to so much, it's hard to believe what's quote unquote the truth. So I can understand people's concerns when it's the truth. So at the end of the day, most people just want to be entertained and have their theories or hypotheses indulged, right? And thought about and talked about. And I can respect that, to be honest with you, because this is a fun and entertaining topic to discuss, right? The James thing was just so different. He faked his death and people were genuinely worried. It's like we were living in dreamland, and we can talk in dreamland, or it could be reality. I don't know, right? We don't know what the fuck's going on. But once you cross a line into something that's just okay, with that stuff. But I think I just really learned that people just want to, discuss this stuff and hypothesize about it and kind of indulge some of these theories and thoughts. And that's fair. I mean, what else are we doing here? We're here to talk about aliens. I'm not here to talk about food and bullshit. So yeah, it's all good. And I don't have to believe this stuff, right? And you don't have to either. But if you want to, that's cool. Everyone's welcome here. I don't care what your beliefs are. I respect your beliefs, no matter what it is. Really, I don't care. I hope you respect mine, right? It's that simple. But we can talk about it. We can discuss it. I'm all down for that. All right, we're gonna hear a little bit more. Max Nightman says, "I'm happy it's leaving. It was a good litmus on how people react to unknowns. We're cooked." I mean, that's fair. That's a fair assessment, and I totally get it. It is a good litmus test, especially the James thing too. 3i Atlas, the James thing. It's like, how far do you take that indulging, right? Are you building a bunker and, you know, sectioning your family off and, you know, getting in fights and, you know, that sort of thing about some of these things you indulge or theories? If some of this stuff really disrupts your real life, I think you need to step back and take a look at what's really important. You can still have these beliefs and these theories, but don't let it disrupt your real life. Because even if aliens come, guess what? Life doesn't stop. You still got to take your dog out. You still got to feed your kids. You still got to, you know what I mean? Like, those things don't stop. So in our search to expand humanity, don't abandon humanity, right? We can't, you know what I mean? We are the most important thing on planet Earth, right? And in the universe, as far as I'm concerned, humanity. Aliens take a back seat, in my opinion. We need to be more concerned with ourselves and what we're doing, and especially our small circle around us, our families and whatnot. But yeah, all right, let's continue with Sebastian. Sebastian,
there's also something else being reported right now. There seems to be these other 7 to 9 comets potentially coming close to 3I Atlas. What do you know about that?
Yeah, so all of these potential comets, they are all interstellar objects as well, and they are coming from outer space, and they are all converging towards 3I Atlas and the sun.
Okay.
So to have that situation is very remote. Just to have like 3I Atlas to come through the solar systems and to predict it to be grazing Mars and the sun and then Earth and afterwards Jupiter, it's like one chance in 500. To having all of these objects at the same time is like a few chances in 1 million or 2 million or more. So it's very remote. So to know that those objects, especially C2025 Swan comet, is like the size, it's like 100 times bigger than 3I Atlas. And that's actually going towards the sun at pretty high speed as well.
So is that one of the 9 objects we're talking about?
Yes,
Is that okay?
That's correct.
Okay, that's interesting. So just clarify for me.
So this guy has an answer for everything. Have you noticed that? He literally has an answer for everything, which tells you what? This is all set up. This interview is all set up. He knows what he's going to be asked. They talk about it ahead of time. It's not going to ask him anything he doesn't have an answer for. All right? They've discussed all of this. Now, he may say things that maybe the interviewer is like, oh, okay, this is all set up. Now, that doesn't mean it's not true. I'm just saying it's all scripted. It's all set up. If you're going to be upset that NASA scripts things and puts things out, this should equally upset you, right? Right? Isn't it the same thing? Remember, if we're open-minded means you're open-minded to any truth. You can't say it's aliens and then be mad at people that aren't open-minded it's aliens when you're not open-minded it's not aliens. Right? We can't get mad that there's a stigma in the UFO community that people aren't open-minded enough. Meanwhile, you're not open-minded, it's not. If you were truly open-minded, you'd be open-minded to any possibility. Aliens, no aliens, a mix, something else that's not aliens that we don't even know how to describe, right? I'm just saying, open-minded means actually open-minded to any possibility. Even if you're for certain one thing, then you can't be mad at other people for, quote, not being open-minded. It's a double standard. Again, we're either going to be genuine and authentic or we're not. And if we have some biases, I get it. We all have biases. I have them too. So none of us are immune to it. But the stigma is real on both sides. The stigma is a two-sided coin. Let's continue.
Did you remote view this, or is this also what the scientists are saying?
This is what the scientists are saying.
Sebastian, what more did you learn?
These are what the scientists are saying. Interesting. Yeah, I think we're going to have to vet this, y'all. We're going to have to vet it. Hey, I'm all for aliens. I wouldn't be here. But I really want to know it's aliens. I don't want to just, you know what I mean? I genuinely want to know. I want to believe so bad. But because of that, I have to stop myself, right? It's like, I don't know where those fireworks are coming, y'all. I think that's something on my, that's hilarious. Oh, that's hilarious. I think I have reactions on. That's what it is. That is pretty funny. Oh, wait, I got different. Look at that. Oh, shit. I got different things here. Y'all didn't even know I could do this. Wait, what? Yo. Does this work? This is, okay. Just playing around here, y'all. Let's go. All right. Let's continue. My bad. I got a little carried away with that.
From the astrophysicist.
Well, nothing, because after my chat with her, the day later, her sister called the contact I had in the intelligence world and was panicking, thinking, what happened to my sister? I can't get a hold of her, and she's not responding. And then after that, I've learned that she was on the run. So I think her life got threatened, if not worse. I'm not quite sure at this point, because I think CERN is trying to obviously protect this information. I know that that person either way doesn't want to talk or doesn't want to open the line of communication anymore.
She's on the run, so that means does CERN control CERN, or do intelligence agencies or governments control what's going on there?
Yeah, I believe that if they were an entity on their own, they would have not decided to shut her down. I think they are being controlled by other agencies, if not countries. It might not just be one. Being in Switzerland, you don't really know who is actually behind CERN and what is being prevented for them to access and share. We know that CERN has, obviously with that collider, they pretty much have exceeded what we even imagine as being part of science fiction. And I heard stories that, spheres came out of CERN and went through the walls of CERN as well. So I think, we don't really know the extent of the communications that they've established with those ETs.
So Sebastian, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have multiple friends within the SSP. What are they saying about this situation?
Well, surprisingly enough, they don't seem to be that worried. So,
what's the SSP? Am I missing that? I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. Can someone in the chat tell me what SSP is? Did I miss that? Please tell me what that is. Max, Max, you're the man, dude. Perhaps a new term should be used for comet-like unknowns. Inuit have like 50 words for snow, as there are many types. That's fair. You know what? That's a totally fair point. I like that. I like that a lot. What is the SS Super Space People? Is that really what it is? Space Studies Program? Okay. Secret Space Program. I bet that's it. Y'all. I bet it's Secret Space Program. Okay. Super Space People is funny though. Ancillary sensory perception. Okay, yeah, Secret Space Program. I think that's it. Or sausage. No, that's not it. Okay, I don't know. Secret Sausage Program. That could also be it. I'm just saying, we don't know. All right, the Secret Sausage Program, y'all. No, but I think y'all are right. It is the Secret Space Program. You're right. Okay, thank you. Let's continue. Max, really good point about having different terms, and you're right. That's an interesting point. Space has the best brats. Yeah, that is true. Shout out, Max. All right, let's get back to the Secret Space Program.
I know.
That makes me feel good.
I know. It seems to have the situation under control.
Thank you, Brian.
It seems. They don't seem to be at all concerned about the 3i Atlas coming in or SWAN or any other bodies. So I believe that they have the manpower and the technology to ward off a potential invasion if there was one in mind of that spaceship. But I think they truly believe that it's under control.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's been the same message from all the people I know. So I didn't feel as confident, but they seem to be. So.
Let's talk a little bit more about SWAN, one of these 9 other objects that is gigantic, way bigger than 3I Atlas.
Right.
What can you say about that? Any more?
Yeah, so the SSP has shot at it.
Shot at it?
It was in the morning, and they didn't seem to have any change in course. So SWAN did not budge from this attack.
Oh, I'm a little confused, but what is the secret space program? Well, great question. If we knew, it wouldn't be secret. I mean, you know, I've heard a lot about this, so I'm sure a lot of people are going to give different, you know, reactions to that. But Tim Taylor, for instance, would have been cool to see Tim Taylor at that 3I Atlas event, right? But they say Tim Taylor, who was part of Chris Bledsoe's book and Diana Pasulka's book, right? The NASA space controller or whatever his job is. I don't know. He's, you know, top level NASA guy. He allegedly is part of a secret space program. So I don't know if it's the same one or they got multiple. And not only that, but it's a time traveling secret space program. In fact, some people theorize that Tim Taylor is a time traveler. He is from a different time. To me, and if y'all don't know this about me, Tim Taylor is the most mysterious man in ufology, in the history of ufology, if you ask me. And I'm fascinated with Tim Taylor. I did a really big deep dive on my channel. You can look for it. If you just put in Tim Taylor vetted, it'll come up. I spent a lot of time on it, actually, and it's like almost an hour long. Big deep dive on Tim Taylor if you want to know more about him. But interestingly enough, that's secret space program. But the secret space program could be also part of the 20 and back and all of that. I don't know, you know, people might have different thoughts about that, but I think that might be connected. You know, it's hard to say, right? They just say secret space program. And again, the more ambiguous a lot of these people use terms, the harder it is for you to really nail down what they say and and they can always come back and say something different because they left it ambiguous, right? Don't really explain what secret space program is. And maybe they just assume people watch this stuff enough on Gaia that like they know what that is, secret space program. Hello, Patrick, you haven't heard of the secret space program, you idiot. You know, so it's hard to tell. Could there be a secret space program? Yeah, absolutely. 100%. What's the probability? I don't know. Have I seen any evidence? I've seen some interesting, compelling stuff, like about Tim Taylor. That aspect, for sure. You know, he's an odd figure, man. And he's really high in NASA. And he's done some very weird shit. And NASA has a history of different occults and symbols and things, you know, there's just a lot of weird stuff, That's true, you know. Doesn't mean there's anything definitive, but now he's saying they shot at this thing with what? What'd they shoot it with? A laser? They Dr. Evil? We got lasers. Like, what are we talking about? You shot a laser? We shot missiles? Like, what do you mean we shot at it? With what? We got a Death Star out there we're not talking about? Like, of course, it's not going to explain any of that. So we shot at this thing that's bigger than 3I Atlas. And mind you, 3I Atlas is considered to be the size of Manhattan. Potentially. Right? Could be that big. So, and they're saying this object is bigger than that. It's flying along with it. And we shot at it and it didn't budge. Well, but again, it doesn't say what we shot at it with. You know? So, like slingshot? I mean, maybe that's why it didn't budge. What did we hit it with? And why is there no evidence of that? Wouldn't astronomers have picked up on that? Wouldn't there be photos of that? Of this shooting at it and an explosion and this thing not moving? Like, I don't know. Shot at it with a camera, yeah. That's funny, clever, very good. I like it. Yeah, what if we missed? And how are we just shooting at alien spaceships? Does that sound like, let's hypothetically assume this is real. We're just shooting at it? Hey guys, big, huge alien spaceship, mothership. You know what? Why don't you crack, you know, hey Fred, why don't you crack off a few at it? See what happens. You know, does that sound like a good idea? No. No, it does not. And what were they trying to do by shooting at it? Did they not expect this thing to shoot back and destroy us? I mean, again, if things don't make sense, it's usually because it's not true. This guy is talking out his ass. I'm sorry, but this guy is talking out his ass. And he don't know shit. He doesn't know any more than you or me. I'm really not a fan of people trying to insinuate that they have secret information or, you know, something you don't have. I promise you, you're just as informed as this dude. Yeah, he's got a nice French accent. Great. I live in Europe. Okay, I live in Spain. I love a French accent. Okay, I love accents. I get it. But that doesn't make me think you're smart. Not at all. And he's provided no proof, right? And why aren't they talking about, again, why are we shooting at this thing? What are we trying to accomplish? Doesn't make sense. All right, let's see. Let's get Heiser in here. He says, we just shot a projectile at an asteroid like last year. Okay. Yeah, because they thought it was an asteroid. But this guy's saying they know it's an alien spaceship and we're, quote, shooting at it. So now if he said, well, we thought it was an asteroid, so we shot at, you know, that's different. But he's saying we knowingly know it's an alien race coming in a huge mothership and we're going to, quote, shoot at it. That's not a good idea. But yes, we do fire things off at asteroids where I think we're trying to build some sort of defense system, right? In case something heads towards Earth and we are able to shoot at it. Because asteroids are a real, forget aliens, asteroids are a real issue. They you know, something that legitimately could happen to Earth, something hitting us, you know. We don't want to be the next dinosaurs that go extinct, right? That's a real possibility. But with that said, would be nice to have something out in space. If aliens do come, we could shoot at them. Because the idea of aliens coming to Earth is not crazy. That's not a crazy thought at all. What's crazy is people saying definitively that it's happening or has happened without proof or evidence. That's what's crazy. But it's definitely not a crazy thought or idea. And in fact, seems quite plausible. And I don't think we're ready for it at all. Y'all saw what happened with COVID. You think we're ready for an alien invasion? No. No. You thought trying to find toilet paper during COVID was bad? The fuck out of here. If aliens come, bro, it's going to be complete mayhem. And in fact, one of the interviews that I'm dropping is I interviewed a guy, gosh, I can't remember his name. I think it's Drew Miller. I could have that wrong, but former intelligence, you know, worked in the government for a long time. He worked on a lot of these systems in place with like nuclear fallout and some of these catastrophes that could happen to Earth, right? And he now runs a sort of prepping company, right? Where you can prep for calamities, right? And, you know, they have contingencies in place for alien invasion. And that was a big part of what we talked about. Clearly, he's coming on my show. He talked about other things, but it was like, what are we to do if there's an alien invasion? How can humanity actually survive that? It was an interesting conversation. And he had interesting answers. Honestly, they weren't what I thought he was going to say. They were like, wow, okay, that's what you think we should do if aliens come? And this is an expert on this, right? On prepping for these sort of calamities. It's almost like there's nothing we can do. Preparing, good luck. There's no preparing for an alien invasion. I don't care how much you stock up. I don't care how deep you think your bunker is. I don't care. You know, you got 80,000 cans of beans in your garage. Aliens come and they're not nice. You're going to see me like at the end of Don't Look Up, enjoying a nice meal with wine and people and like, I'm just going to live it out till I die. because trying to fight back or they survive, like, it's not going to happen. Again, only if they're aggressive and trying to wipe us out, which I really just don't see an advanced civilization wanting to do that. Now, with that said, there are advanced civilizations on Earth, meaning other humans, other countries that still fight. We still have wars, even as advanced as we are, right? With our ethics and morals, we still fight. So it's possible that there could be a fight with aliens, maybe based on how we react to them. And maybe shooting at these spaceships that we see is maybe not the first step, right? To them not trying to fight us. So why are we shooting at them? Let's continue with this guy.
And I don't know exactly what that means as to why they would do this. If it was obviously not friendly, and if it was trying to get to 3I Atlas, because it was aiming in that direction, it didn't seem to affect it.
Why did they shoot at it, and what did they shoot at it?
I believe it's because it was
Here we
getting
go.
too close to Earth compared to 3I Atlas.
Made him nervous.
Yes. So they want
Too close to Earth made them nervous. You realize they're like millions of miles away. I mean, that's like shooting a missile across the other cross of the globe, right? On the other side of the globe because it got too close to your house. Someone's walking down the street in China and you're like, let's blow them up. You're too close to my house. You got too close. What do you mean too close? What are we talking about? Again, what did we shoot at it? Let's ask that.
to actually act on that spaceship first, which they believe it is as well, and going towards 3I Atlas. Now, if they were friendlies or if they were part of the Galactic Alliance, you don't think they would try to shoot at it.
Yeah.
So this is why I'm assuming that this is not a friendly craft.
Okay, I know the SSP is...
So it's not a friendly craft, so let's just shoot at it. Nothing happened, and then what? They didn't do anything? They didn't respond? Nothing happened? Again. All right, so he's getting to the SSP.
Is not concerned with 3I Atlas. They just shot at Swan, so obviously there's some concern, but is there concern that Swan may land or no? Are they pretty confident?
No, that's the thing. That's the same thing. They don't believe that any of these crafts will land, apart from the smaller crafts coming from those motherships.
So we have the SSP engaging these comets and with concern, and some not concerned. They don't think they're going to land. But is the Galactic Federation involved in this at all? Are they helping the SSP? Why didn't?
Agreed,
I guess what I'm
Max.
trying to say is why didn't the Galactic Federation step in?
Well, they did.
Great
They were
question.
part of the SSP, so they actually participated in that maneuver. That's why they were so confident in doing it in the first place.
Okay.
The Galactic Alliance was not part of it. So the Galactic Alliance is all the ETs that are part of this alliance who are not on Earth. They never aided the SSP or the Galactic Federation. Some factions are part of it, but the Galactic Alliance is always doing things remotely. But now it seems like they are the ones coming in as well to help.
I know you've spoken about this before, but can you just educate me and the audience quick on the difference between the Galactic Alliance and the Galactic Federation?
Yeah, that'd be nice. You know what? I actually interviewed someone with the Galactic Federation at Contact in the Desert, and part of that interview is included in my upcoming documentary as well. All right, let's find out what's the difference between the Galactic Alliance and the Galactic Federation and the Galactic Government, the Secret Space Program. I don't know. There's a lot of galactics. Well, they should have chosen a different name. Why not the Cosmic or Universal Alliance or something? I don't know. Real quick. Flying Helena says, this is so entertaining. I love your sense of humor, Patrick, plus your knowledge. Thank you so much, Helena. I have no knowledge. Just FYI, I don't know shit. But I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you for the support. And hey, we got to add a little humor to this. This is a lot to get through, right? And I love to laugh. So thank you so much, Helena. Max says, Fermi does not explain away Flagellan or Columbus events, meaning I think he means Magellan. I don't know. Is that a joke? Or maybe I'm missing that. Meaning something undiscovered within our radio emission history, approximately 200 light years, arcs its way here mechanically. That's true. True. A lot of possibilities that aren't considered and taken seriously. I think that's basically what you're getting at, Max. And I have to admit, I agree. I agree. I agree with that. We got some smart people watching this, y'all. Okay, we got some smart people, y'all. Okay, so this guy's getting ready to explain the difference between Galactic Alliance and Galactic Federation. Again, I did interview somebody with Galactic Federation. If it's the same one, you know what? Yeah, because they were part of the Omicron Federation or something like that. It was like Omicron. That was it. Omicron something, right? But they were also Galactic Federation. So I don't know if there's different Galactic Federations. Someone's got a trademark. I don't, you know, they're working on the same thing. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. But nice people. Just as people, they were very nice, very cordial. They wear military uniforms. In fact, I thought they were cops at Contact in the Desert. The uniforms were so good. I thought, oh, wasn't they just got cops here? And then as I got closer, I realized, oh, okay. That's what's going on. It's like, it looks like cosplay. It does. But they take what they do very seriously, and I respect that. It's all good.
Yeah, so the Galactic Federation is basically a body mixing up human beings, usually from military intelligence, and ETs from various races. And they've been helping them with technology, reverse engineering, pretty much everything that we know from the SSP. They received help to train all the SSP soldiers, remote viewers, empath, all of that. These came from the Galactic Federation.
Okay.
And then the Galactic Alliance are the ones in charge of the star seeds of this planet. Some of them could be still helping the SSP, like the Pleiadians are. But it doesn't mean that the Pleiadians working for the SSP basically respond or report to the Galactic Alliance.
Of course.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting because there's a treaty in place. So the Pleiadians know that they have to help humanity evolve, but at the same time, there are some who are physically here, who are helping the SSP on Earth.
Got it.
And normally that should be against protocol.
Oh, totally.
Right?
That's against protocol. Okay. What are they doing? They're breaking protocol? Well, they're shooting at alien motherships, so, they're breaking protocol. But we got Pleiadians on Earth working with the Cosmic Alliance to help us maintain peace in the universe. I don't know entirely.
So, but when you have so many races involved, the treaties got changed or modified to create the Galactic Federation.
Okay.
That still involves multiple races on Earth, but without truly interfering with humanity and society as we know it.
Yeah, okay, thank you for that clarification.
Of course.
Let's go back to
Way to
3i
clarify.
Atlas
Thanks,
itself. It's a
Sebastian.
gigantic comet, the size roughly of New York City or bigger.
Okay, there we go. We're getting to 3i Atlas here.
What are we talking about here? Like, how many people or how many Draco can a craft that size house?
So I remote viewed the craft and I got direct information from that.
Okay.
And my take on that, I did just remote view the amount of people on board. I also remote viewed the technology what's inside, the whole decks, the pods, the whole thing on the inside. So I can see they are using antimatter and fusion technology. And they also have pods housing less than 5 million Draco reptilian soldiers inside.
What? They're housing 5 million Draco reptilian soldiers inside. 5 million. 5 millones. Me cago en la leche. Madre mía. Okay, joder. So we got 5 million reptilian aliens inside 3i Atlas. That's what this guy's saying. Inside 3i Atlas, there are 5 million reptilian aliens housed. Are they got bunk beds? Like, how are they sleeping? What do they do all day? What, you know what I mean? Are they got uniforms? Are they hibernating? Are they like, you know, when people say these things like, oh, there's a base, you know, here, there's a base underwater and aliens. Like, I always ask, what do they do all day? What, you know, what is happening all day? Is there a society? They're going to restaurants and movies on board this spaceship. Is there entertainment? Is there art? Is there class system? Are they families are with them? They're only soldiers? Like, I mean, are these crazy questions to ask? Is it any crazier than this guy saying there's 5 million reptilian soldiers that he saw in his mind aboard this comet that's not really a comet, it's an alien mothership? Again, I'm happy to entertain all this and to think, and open-minded enough to think this could be true, but what's the one question you think I'm going to ask? Where's the proof of this? Because if you just tell me you saw it in your mind, what am I doing? You know, what are we doing here? You can't just tell me you saw things in your mind and then I'm supposed to take that seriously and take action. Because if that's true, what are we doing? Holy shit, 5 million reptilians headed, mind you, he's saying 3i Atlas is headed for Earth. Now, granted, it's not going to land on Earth. Of course not. They're going to do that. They're going to send 1,000 alien probes. How are the 5 million soldiers, are they coming down here? Or what are they doing? They live forever? How long has this thing been traveling? Like, what are they doing? Do those soldiers ever come out? Again, what are we, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. That's a lot. Expecting them to follow any of our human ways would be speculation. Well, it's all speculation, Heiser. Let's be real here. And, you know, I'm not really a fan of the whole, well, don't give, you know, you're giving it human thoughts. What else am I supposed to do? Tell me how to get out of my human brain and think about this. You as well. This comment is as well human speculation, right? That's all we have. So that's out the window to me. We only have human speculation. There's no other thing. I can't think outside of my brain about this. It's impossible. So I can only give it human speculation. That's the only kind of speculation we have. Everything is speculation, even what I'm saying. But I'm not the one making claims that there's 5 million reptilians in a ship headed for Earth. That person needs to show proof for me to take that seriously. Of course I'm speculating because there's no proof for me to go off of, only what he's saying. Does that make sense? We can only anthropomorphize, or whatever that word is, right? That's all we can do. You can't get out of your human skin to think not like a human. And anyone telling you that's what they're doing is lying to you. That's impossible to do. You can't it's just impossible. You can't not think like a human. So of course, everything's going to go through the human filter. Of course, I'm going to use references that I already know. It's impossible for me to use references I don't know because I don't know what I don't know. That makes sense? So that is all there is human speculation, right? That's all we have. Our human ways. We don't know any other ways. So that's literally all we can do, right? So it's kind of a moot point to bring up. I get why you're saying it, but it just holds no water, right? Our foundation is we're human. Every filter, every thought is through our human mind, our humanity, right? Like there is no other way to think about this. So of course I'm going to assume that. Now, of course there can be other ways that things are happening or they're living or this or that. That's why I'm asking the questions, right? And this guy should be able to show proof of something, right? Like, but again, this idea that why we think like humans? Show me a human that doesn't think like a human. That doesn't exist. It's all we have, quite literally all we have. But I get what you're saying. And we do need to keep an open mind, of course. But open mind goes both ways. Like I said, it's a two-sided coin. What we really want to know is what remote viewers view on their spare time. That's a great question. Great question. You know what they do? just anything. They just practice. That's what I learned from remote viewing. Like the stuff I remote viewed, that Gino and I did for the documentary. Nothing of importance. It's just to show, can we remote view? What kind of powers do we have? Right? You're just showing off your skills, right? Like going in your backyard and shooting hoops. That's not for a game. It's not for it's not for anything important. You're just shooting hoops. Kind of the same thing. So I would imagine they just shoot hoops, outside of it on their spare time. They just remote view all kinds of shit. That's what most people do when they remote view. And the targets are just, let's see how close you can get to something, right? There's really no purpose or significance behind the majority of remote viewing. That's the truth. Only few people, quote, who are trained enough actually kind of try to remote view on something like 3i Atlas or a specific target, or the people that work with Project Stargate and all that, which is true. Project Stargate is a real thing. And there's many other projects that came from that. And I'm not saying there isn't any validity to any of it, because there is some compelling evidence in there that some people may have had some abilities, right? There is definitely room to investigate this more and to see, because even as skeptical as I am, y'all, I'm quite aware that we don't understand the power of the mind all the way. Not at all. I don't think we understand any of it. Our consciousness, we don't understand any of it. But that fact should tell you that anyone trying to tell you they understand the full breadth of our consciousness is full of shit. You don't know either. Nobody knows the full breadth of our consciousness. So yes, these things are a possibility, but by telling me, no, I understand the full breadth of consciousness and how the mind works, and it works this way and that way, you don't know shit. You know as much as I do. And we're all still exploring it, and it's a personal journey. And I do highly recommend people explore that journey. So the same way I'm not a fan of people dismissing, I'm also not a fan of people definitively saying it. It's kind of, to me, the jury's still out, right, on this. But it's definitely worth exploring, and it's definitely worth trying. You can try remote viewing at home. I recommend trying it. It's fun. If anything, you just have fun doing it, right? Get some friends, try it. It is fun. And it's interesting. Some of the results are interesting, right? Yeah, I'm all for things we can try on our own. That's always a positive for me. 100%. Monkey Boy says, I'm beginning to believe more and more that there are no aliens. All the tech is ours, kept secret to perpetuate the alien narrative and prep for the fake invasion. Project Bluebeam version 2. I totally hear you, Monkey Boy. I hear what you're saying. I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. I don't have any proof of that or any evidence, and y'all know how skeptical I am. I'm not a fan of, quote, government disclosure. Just because there's that filter of people lying and all that, it's just like nonsense. But there is unexplained phenomena on this planet. Millions of people, maybe even the billions, across generations, right? Across thousands of years, different religions, races, classes, civilizations, cultures. It's just too many people for there to be nothing. What I think is that all the it's trying to find the real shit in that huge haystack, right? That's the problem. And I'm not really a fan of trusting our government. I think that part could be true. It's possible our government doesn't have anything. They don't have shit. But that doesn't mean that, for me personally, that the phenomena doesn't exist. I wouldn't do this if I didn't think there was something to it. I see smoke. I just haven't seen fire. But usually where there's smoke, there was fire. Where is it? I don't know. There is a lot of compelling stuff out there. And that's why I'm not such a huge fan of, well, you gotta be open to anything, Patrick. You might miss a truth if you're not open-minded to everything. Yeah, but you got to wear a mental seatbelt, right? I can't just indulge everything. I want to focus on things that I find compelling enough that require further evidence or further investigation. Think where there is evidence, right? Where there is some compelling evidence to start with. If it's just a story, that's not enough. For me personally, everyone do whatever you want, and if you've had a personal experience, well, that's you're in a whole different category. And I totally get that. If you've had a profound individual experience with this phenomenon, whatever it is, I totally get you're in a different category, and you're going to look at things differently, and you're going to investigate things differently, and you're going to entertain and indulge things differently than someone who hasn't had such a profound experience. I think a lot of people have seen things they can't explain, but there are experiencers who've experienced, like, again, a profound, that's just a totally different category. I am not that person. I have seen things I can't explain. I have. I would even go so far as to say I've felt things I can't explain. But I don't have an answer for what it is. And I do enjoy trying to figure that out. It's just about, for me, minimizing the haystack so I can get closer to that needle. I do think I can understand where you're coming from, Monkey Boy, and I think we all share a lot of that frustration, man. You know what I mean? You're not alone there, and I think we can all share that frustration. Yeah, Monkey Boy, I'm just trying to think critically rather than just believe. I agree. You can't just believe it into existence. If you believe it hard enough, it'll be real. I'm with you. We got to think critically. And for me personally, it's just focusing on the things that you find compelling, and we can't just throw the baby out with the bathwater. But you can if you want. I mean, it's a personal journey, so everyone can do what they want. But me, I'm all about promoting critical thinking about this. And if the steak is overcooked, it's overcooked. I'm throwing it out. I'm refiring. Let's get a new one going. I'm not just going to be like, well, maybe it'll be fine. No. Sometimes things are just like the James thing with the drill and all. It's like, that's bullshit. I'm not wasting any time on that. There are far more compelling stories. But everyone can do whatever they want and indulge whatever they want. Me personally, I'm looking for things that there's already something there. Like, I'm not going to go to a restaurant with no reviews. All right? I'm not going to go to a restaurant with no line out the door. Like, it's like you want some reviews. You want something there. You want a little something to go off of before you go in. It's kind of the same thing with it. I like hearing stuff that there's already a little evidence. Now, with that said, that's why I have the vetted hotline. And if you look in the description, you'll find the number. You can call that number and tell your experience. I play one at the end of every single video. Every single vetted video, no matter what it's about, at the end always includes a brand new original experience or sighting from a regular person out in the real world. A vetter who's called and said, I saw this or I experienced this. So every single video, you can get that and you can hear that. And I love those because, you can just tell people's genuine, I don't know the right word, they're just being real, authentic. There's no filter, there's no government NDA and all this bullshit I can't talk about, just fucking, just real people going, hey, this one night out camping or whatever, my friends and I saw this thing, or my husband and I do this, or my wife and I saw that, we're driving home one night. Like, real stories like that, I find the most compelling. To me, people with no reason to lie. Government officials, they got a bazillion reasons to lie to you. And I'm not saying average everyday people don't lie about some shit. Of course, we all lie, but I find those stories to be the most compelling. What we really want to know is, oh yeah, we already looked at that. Okay, let's continue with Homeboy here. Okay, I'm reading some comments. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. Ryan, I can't put that up, but that's funny. Okay. Okay. Let's just finish this out. We gotta. There's like 5-6 minutes left on this. We gotta finish this out.
And so they're all dormant. They're not using space. They're not eating. They're not doing anything. They're just basically just waiting to be awakened.
Well, that's hilarious. I mean, I literally asked that, and then he explained it. I should have played that. So, okay, so they're lying dormant. They're just lying dormant, waiting to be activated. Interesting. Oh, this comment is hilarious. Patrick would be a great cult leader. What? Is that a compliment? That doesn't sound like a compliment. But maybe it is. Is it because I'm charismatic? You know, I could get you to believe something. I don't think so. Ask my wife. Trust me. She knows I'm full of shit half the time. Right? She calls me on my bullshit all the time, and I love her for it. I love her for it. You got to have people in your life that'll just like shoot you down, right? In case your head's getting too big or you're too full of yourself, your ego. If someone you love, that you trust, just shoot you down. No, my wife keeps me on my toes, man. So do my friends, to be honest with you. But that's hilarious. I'm going to start a new cult, guys. It's called, what would I call a cult I start? Could it be vetted? Could it be a vetted cult? I don't know. No, I need a better name if I started a cult. It would just be about barbecue. I'm going to start a barbecue cult. All hail barbecue. The god of salt, the god of pepper, the god of rubbing. All right, let's finish this guy out here.
And they're all in pods.
You use the word soldier.
Yes.
That is a little unnerving.
Yeah, I mean, the Draco race is known to be fighting wars in other galaxies, and obviously they destroyed the Pleiadians' home planet, so that's in their genes. That's what they do. And at the same time, it's for their own safety, that they are trying to protect themselves. They don't know what's coming. They don't know who they're going to be facing. So that's why they keep those soldiers in that situation. They're not active. So when they travel through space, they just keep them in that state.
Oh, so it doesn't mean they're necessarily coming here with soldiers to attack.
That's correct. It doesn't mean that they're coming in to wake them up all and, to invade Earth. That's not the plan. I'm just saying that they are there on, just in case, because it is a mothership.
All right.
Yeah, guys, of course, just in case. I could just see them with the clipboard set, on their home planet, getting ready to set out on this huge mothership. How many soldiers do you think we should take, y'all? I'm thinking 1 million to Fred. What are you thinking? 5 million? All right, let's send 5 million out. They're going to be dormant, right? They're just going to be sleeping. Okay, 5 million. All right, it's a big ship. Let's get it out there. It's like, and how did he know 5 million? If he's remote viewing, did he count them all? How did he get that number? Do you see what I'm saying? How did he get to 5 billion? Right? Again, questions to ask. How did we get to that number? It's just, again, I'm not saying it's not true. It's just, where's the evidence besides just, I don't know. I like hearing this stuff for the sense that it's entertaining, right? It's interesting and it's fun to think about it if it's true. But I also like to wonder these questions, like, hey, wait, how do you know 5 million, dormant? Why have them dormant? Why not have them working, doing some shit on the ship? You know what I mean? Like, is it because they can't handle space? Like they age, in movies, like, space movies that we have, right? They always put them to sleep. They're in a coma. They're in, what's that called? I forget. When they do that in the movies, they put them in the pods and that, they'll wake up later. Whatever. Is it something like that? Like they're just going to age and they can't, or what? Are they stasis? Yeah, thank you, Heiser. Stasis. Is it like, I don't know. That's just interesting to me. Like, why not just put them to work? Are they all just stacked like sardines? Is it like Amistad? You know, like we used to transport slaves and they'd just be on top of each other. I mean, horrific, right? This is horrific. I mean, I'm not saying that's what that, but it's like, you know, like, do they have weapons? Like, where are all the weapons at? Like, I guess I don't know what's going on, man. If it is that big, and I'm not saying ships couldn't be that big, and if there were these advanced ships, all that, I get it. They'd be huge. Wouldn't they be traveling faster, or are they just slowed down? They can travel fast. They're just slowed down right now. I don't know. Just a lot of, I just have questions.
Sebastian, big question. While you were remote viewing 3i Atlas, this comet, did you pick up on any type of agenda for why it's approaching Earth?
Of course. Let's guess how he's going to answer. Because again, this is all set up. He has to know that there is an agenda. He wouldn't ask the question. They've set this all up. So of course he got an agenda. How did he get the agenda from remote viewing? I don't know. You know, I guess entirely how this works. But let's hear his answer. What is the agenda from this mothership?
Yeah, but I don't think I want to talk about that. It's just, I believe that, yes.
You don't want to talk about that. It's going too far based on what you've already said?
There is an agenda from the Dracos, but at the same time, for whatever I've seen moving forward, either way, humanity will prevail. And with the help of the Galactic Alliance, I feel pretty confident that whatever is at play won't be successful.
Whatever's at play won't be successful. He feels pretty confident, guys. I don't know about you, but I feel great. He feels pretty confident. So put all your worries aside. Sebastian Martin feels pretty confident that this alien race, that whatever their agenda is, will prevail. So feel pretty confident, man. Whew. Dang, I was getting ready to sell everything, but now we're good. Everybody, we're going to be fine. We will prevail. Thank God. Because I got a lot of life to live, y'all.
Okay. Fair enough. Now, how does this all lead up to 2027, where channelers like Bashar have talked about the year that everything changes? Is 3i Atlas the beginning of this journey to this massive change in 2027? What did you remote view, or what have you learned from your contacts?
Yes, well,
2027, y'all. I've covered this on my channel a lot, actually. I think my most viewed video ever, it's like 500,000 views or something. It could be more. I don't even know. Is about this, okay? About 2027. And that a lot of people have remote viewed it. A lot of people have said that there's an alien invasion coming, right? Maybe that's what he's talking about. He doesn't want to talk about it because that's what he's implying. It's an alien invasion and we will survive. We'll prevail. So, you know, I don't want to bring it up, but yeah, so 2027, that's definitely something that's been talked about a lot. Yes, Jeremy Corbell, he has addressed it. He brought it up in his Tubi show. I made a whole video about it, made a few videos about it, but one in particular that I made very recently brings it all together. It's a great video, 30, 40 minutes long. It's one of my normal videos that I edit and everything, right? So it's got it all there. You can watch the whole story and kind of get up to speed, if you will, at least from that aspect. But Jeremy feels it's a psyop. It's not real. I'm actually happy he came out and said that, because he could have really just pushed that narrative if he wanted. And he said he was pressured to. He said he was pressured to tell people there's an alien invasion coming, right, by the intelligence community. He said he was pressured to talk about it and to really push that, and he refused to do that. And I respect that, because that would have been an easy path for him to take if he wanted, right? But again, people have been like, what the fuck? So yeah, I'm glad he said that that's kind of bullshit. I think it is. I definitely think it's bullshit. But again, no proof, no evidence. Well, then I don't take you seriously. I may listen, but I'm not going to adjust my life based on some fucking rando telling me there's something going to come in 2027. It's just not going to do that. But 2027, you're going to hear a lot, all the way up until 2027. But guess what's going to happen in 2027 when nothing fucking happens? Potentially, allegedly. They'll move the date. It'll be 2029 or 2031 or 20. They'll keep going forever. When we're long dead and buried and dust, people will still be predicting the same thing. These are just recycled tropes through history that people have. So again, I do believe there's a phenomena, but I also believe there's people that take advantage of the fact that people believe there's a phenomena. Literally a grift, right? Literally people trying to fool you. There is a truth, but they try to split you from the truth. And nobody knows what that truth is. I'm dying to know, but, you know, we got to, heads on a swivel, y'all. I keep saying that. Heads on a swivel, y'all. You got to pay attention and see what's going on. I'm not saying nothing's going to happen in 2027. I'm just saying nobody's shown any proof or evidence of that. So what the fuck? Let's continue. Let's see what he's about to say.
I remote viewed both, situations separately. Okay. So when I saw 3i Atlas, I basically saw what was yet to come, and all of its potential negative aspects or positive aspect. Mm-hmm. And then you have the 2027 remote viewing sessions, which to me seemed a bit more positive, and again with these tiered probabilities of AI and open contact. So my first impression was to do with AI, and I believe that AI on its own was not created by humans. It came from the cosmos as intelligence, and it allowed itself to come through the machines that the humans created for us to interact with it.
Okay, so Sebastian, when you're viewing the future, did you see anything else besides AI potentially disrupting us?
Yes, and that's the second part I saw in my remote viewing session, is that humanity really moves up to the next level for sure in 2027, which again will be embracing telepathy and obviously telekinesis, and the shifts that we talked about, like from going from 3D to 4D and 5D, will happen for sure in 2027.
Okay, so let me, if I understood what he said correctly, he's saying in 2027, it will be confirmed that telepathy, telekinesis, these ships will move into 3D, 4D, 5D? And there'll be a new knowledge. I mean, this sounds a lot like what Chris Bledsoe says too, right? But he's saying April 2026, which is just around the corner, right? I've heard some interesting things about Chris Bledsoe's prediction. I'm not going to mention it on this live stream just yet because don't have any evidence. It's just a rumor. I'm not really going to throw out a rumor. But let's just say that's going to be interesting. April 2026. So then we got 2027 with this. Hey, good news about a prediction is you eventually get to see it's full of shit or not. Right? There's at least a finish line they're pointing you to. Again, people will always move the goalpost. It's basically Y2K, 2020, 2012, a lot of these things. But hey, who knows? We may see something, because this guy can look into the future. Right? He can remote view the future. Why isn't he rich? Why isn't he a billionaire? Simple questions to ask. But hey, all I have is my stupid human brain to ask these questions. But why isn't he a billionaire if he can read the future?
If you had to summarize the most likely trajectory for humanity in 2027, what would it be?
I truly believe that human contact with ETs will happen in 2027 and maybe earlier. In fact, Bashar talked about this, saying it could happen anywhere between 2025 and 2027. So
What the fuck? But I thought it's already happening. We're in the Cosmic Alliance. There's a Galactic Federation or Galactic Alliance, Galactic Federation. There's all that. What are you talking about? We've already done it. Does he mean like the world will accept it and it'll just be out in the open? Is that what he means? Disclosure? But he's saying alien contact. We're shooting at spaceships with our secret space program. What the fuck? I thought, what you know? What am I not getting? Bashar, for those of you who don't know, is a like a psychic medium / remote viewer, you know, prediction guy. He's like bald. He you know, he's constantly telling us what's going to happen, and then none of it fucking happens, but whatever. Yeah, he's just basically one of these guys who predict shit. So, okay. Yeah, oh yeah, he channels aliens. He aliens talk through him, and I don't want to be rude. Okay. Yeah, he says he channels aliens. All right.
Fully embrace this potential reality. That's the most likely outcome in my eyes, based on what I already know and obviously more details. I think I feel very positive about it, but at the same time, I can't ignore the potential realities of AI and other, you know, potential harm to territories like, you know, the volcanoes, eruptions, and all of that. But again, we can live with that. We've been living with it for, you know, thousands of years. So we can always adapt to these situations and scenarios. And I think all of these scenarios or even upheaval situations will help humanity to rise up to the challenge and, again, survive whatever comes. So I think either way, we are definitely going to be up to the task because we are very resilient as human beings, but we're also now ready to learn more. And our brain capacity has expanded a bit. We have the potential use of AI to help us go into the next level too. So we have various potential realities available to us. And I think it will be up to certain people to decide what feels best for them.
But you can see into the future, dude. What is the future you're seeing? You're not telling, you're not making any sense. It doesn't, okay. You know what it's time for? It's time for dramatic close-up. It's time for, what the fuck? Okay. He's made a sandbox. Right? He's set a sandbox with rules. He doesn't even follow his own sandbox of rules. Right? That's when you know someone's full of shit. You know when you watch a movie and they sort of set up a universe that you're gonna live in that movie, right? Let's say Star Wars or Star Trek, or you know, there's a lot of science fiction movies like that. But it can happen in any movie, right? Literally any movie. You can set up a world that you then live in. And you should follow the rules of the world you've set. Otherwise, the movie feels out of place or disjointed, right? That's what this guy's done. He sets a sandbox and then doesn't play in it. He doesn't see the inconsistencies there. You know, he probably does, but doesn't care because he knows people will just eat it up and take it in. And maybe that's just all it is. There's just a lot of people in this world that they don't give a fuck about truth or that. Let's just imagine shit and hang out together and we'll just create this fantasy and live in it and no problem. Honestly, what's wrong with that? And if you're not hurting anybody, no fucking problem. I mean, people, you could argue religion is that. All the different denominations of religion, that's all that is. You know? I'm not a religious person. I don't believe in a creator. At least not the ones not the ones that have been presented to me. There could be a creator. But the ones that have been presented to me, I don't believe those are it. So, you know, I don't dog on people that are, you know, have faith in a particular religion. You know, I used to be like Christopher Hitchens, like anti-theist for a while because I was very religious for a few years in my like 18 to 21. I didn't grow up really religious, but then, you know, on my own, I went for it. I was looking, I was searching, right? We all search in life. I mean, God, that was so long ago. And then I didn't like it and kind of got out of it all. And then I became very anti-theist, like, fuck God if he does exist and all this shit. You know, the Hitch slap, right? Christopher Hitchens. And then I just became agnostic, which I think is just the balance, right? There's just a balance in life you reach with wisdom and age, you know, a little bit, and experience, where it's just a balance. You know, I'm not here to dog anybody. I don't know if there's a God. There could be. And to each their own, right? And that's all this is to me. It's just faith. It's just faith. People have faith in this. But it's when people talk in certainties, right? In absolutes. I mean, to each their own. Do what you want. It's your life, your time. Go for it. Me personally, I'm not investing anything into this, you know, this fucking dude and what he's saying without any proof or evidence of it. It's just a story. It's just entertainment. And if that's all it is, then that's all it is. I wish they would just say that. Hey, man, this is just entertaining. Wouldn't it be cool if this? I don't know. I guess it doesn't sell as well. I don't know.
Personally, I don't believe that the use of AI for me would be beneficial. I feel, you know, intuitive enough, and I have enough connections to my star family that I do not necessarily need the use of that. But some people may want that because it will help them again as a society of comfort. Some people may lead to something that seems simple and easy to use to get there, because naturally speaking, they can't. So again, through all of this, doesn't matter how you get there, more people will emerge from this for becoming more awake. And that's a good thing. So I think deep down, I don't criticize the use of AI for this particular scenario. I think some people may choose to go that route. And the way I also saw things, again, merging with the ET races, I know that AI technology will be partly involved mainly for the use and the creation of what we call the grays.
Okay, go on.
So some, like for example, you have the robotic grays and you have the partially biological grays. So there are different types of grays.
Yeah.
And some of these grays are also basically the upbringings or the offsprings of humanity at some point in time. Mm-hmm. And they also monitor humanity and come back to Earth to do exactly the same job as what the Pleiadians are doing right now. So they're also very keen on seeing how AI evolves to their benefit.
Yeah.
So the Pleiadians have their own agenda to do with AI. Mm-hmm. The Greys have a completely different agenda to do with AI. But it doesn't mean it's nefarious. I'm just saying they have a much better understanding of the AI integration with humankind compared to what will become Pleiadians.
Sebastian, once again, thank you for your knowledge. Thank you for your clarity. We really appreciate you being here on Cosmic Disclosure.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate your knowledge. You know, if anything, it's entertaining, right? It's kind of just entertaining a little bit. You know, and again, I will never judge people for their beliefs. Anyone that knows me or follows this channel or talks to me in Discord, you know, open mics and that sort of thing, I don't judge people on their beliefs. Believe what you want. We all believe some crazy shit. All of us. Okay? You know? It's just part of life. It's learning to get along with people you don't agree with on everything. That's the key to life. And that's the beauty. I love being around people I don't agree with or have different thoughts or views or opinions as me. I look at that as like a field full of different flowers and roses and nature, you know, like differences and things. Like, it's great. That's what makes life cool. If everything was the same, it's just boring. You know, it'd be like a Dr. Seuss book, right? Just like the stars, the no stars, right? Like, it's like, I enjoy diversity. Diversity of thought, diversity of theory, diversity of mind. Like, I enjoy that actually quite a lot. So, you know, this was interesting. I'm just not going to change my life for it. I think a lot of you I can see in the comments are not going to either. And there is a lot of people trying to deceive us in the UFO community. That is a big thing. It happens. I see it. You see it too. You know what's out there. You guys aren't stupid. And, but nothing wrong with listening, right? I love to listen first and ask questions later. I do. I always listen. So look, if you love having conversations like this, and this is live stream. I don't do a lot of live streams, but I am going to be doing more of them now that I'm settled here in Spain. Plus I took a long break from my documentary filming and stuff. So I'm going to get back to regular videos all the time, all of that. I mean, for the last 5-6 months, I haven't put out the same, amount of videos that I used to when I was grinding for the first year and a half. But I had to go and do this documentary, and there was like a whole month I didn't even put out a video. So it kind of slowed things down for me. But I took a couple steps back to take a whole giant leap forward. So hopefully when the documentary comes out, and it will have been worth it, all of this sacrifice, because it did kind of slow down the channel a little bit. But with that said, the documentary is being worked on. I don't have that much involvement with the phase that it's in now in post-production. So I have a lot more time to focus on Vetted and get this going. I also moved countries, right? I moved to Europe from Texas. So that was also all happening at the same time. But finally, getting settled in, and I can dedicate more time to doing live streams and getting more videos out. And so just expect to see me around more. That's essentially it. And we'll get this going, okay? But I do want to say, if you want, there's a link down below in the description. Feel free to join our Discord. Quite a few people in there. Again, beliefs aren't a requisite. You could be skeptical as fuck about all this. You can think it's all bullshit. Or you can believe everything. You've had an experience. Everyone's allowed there. There's all kinds of people in there with all kinds of beliefs. I have one rule. Don't be disruptive. Think whatever you want. All opinions welcome. I love hearing everyone's opinion. Just don't be disruptive. Don't be a dick. Don't be an asshole. Let's listen to each other, no matter what you think. And it's important to hear things you don't agree with. It's important to hear thoughts maybe you've never had before. And we go back and forth. I think everyone learns something. Even the people that are in there, who are very skeptical, okay? Very skeptical and think it's all bullshit, but they love hanging out in there. And they talk to believers who believe, and believers love talking to them. And I love that, because everyone learns something. Otherwise it wouldn't be there, right? And you never know who you can learn from. Remember, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? For a reason. When I say God, I mean Jesus Christ, y'all, because I'm here to tell y'all about the Lord. I'm just kidding. How funny would that be if I just start preaching? But, we got 2 ears, 1 mouth, right? So let's use that. And if you want, the Discord's perfect for that. Get in the Discord. You can have great conversations with people. But I'm going to be doing way more live streams like this. I'm generally not a fan of them, but I have to admit I've had a lot of fun doing them. I did one last night. I think I did one yesterday. I did one today. I have fun. This is fun. And I enjoy the feedback in the community. I love seeing people come in and just having a place to feel open to talk about some of the stuff and reveal. And what I think that the community is lacking is what I'm trying to provide. Because there's plenty of channels in the community where you can go and indulge your craziest beliefs, right? That exists. You can go find. There's plenty of channels like that you can just talk about any crazy shit you want. But there's very few communities that allow you to be skeptical. So maybe push back on some things, but still open. You still want some truth here, but there's very few communities that allow pushback and skepticism, because you will get annihilated if you try to question anything in a lot of these communities. The moment you bring up and question some shit, you are shot down. You are a horrible person. I want to create a community where that's allowed, where you can question some things, even if you have a belief, right? What's wrong with that? Why can't you believe in this phenomena, but also, question some things? You got some questions. You should have a free space to do that. And if you're really a staunch skeptic, but maybe you start believing a little bit, if you're in a skeptical community, they don't allow you to believe anything either, right? It's like, what? Oh, you believe in fucking aliens, dude? You fucking lunatic. Like, wait, a second. Why can't I have some thoughts or beliefs in some shit? I saw some shit. I don't know what it was. Why can't I talk about it? Right? So I feel like the extremes of both of the community don't allow for an open, respectful conversation. That's what Vetted's for. Right? If you're skeptical, but you have some questions about this phenomenon, believing in it a little bit, we're here for you. If you're a believer, but hey, you're skeptical about some shit, you got some questions, man, you're welcome. You're welcome here. You can come here. I want this to be a place where you can ask questions either way, right? I think there's a lot of us in the middle. Who have an interest, a desire, but also have questions, right? Because we're humans and we're complicated, and there's nothing wrong with that. So if you have questions about your experience, hey, something happened to me, I don't know what it was, you're welcome here. Or, you know what? These people are full of shit, man, and I'm sick and tired of this shit. I got questions, man. What's going on with it? You're welcome here. Again, I have one rule. Don't be disruptive. Let's be cool. I always say, don't shit in the punch. Right? You come to the party, don't shit in the punch. As crude as that is. Let's all be cool. Let's be respectful, not disruptive. Let's hear anyone's opinion out. Because no one's opinion or beliefs are more important than someone else. If you believe in this and you think skeptics or whatever are fucking idiots and assholes, I mean, believe what you want, but why? Why can't people, if this is a personal journey, why can't people believe what they want, right? And if you're a skeptic and you just think they're all idiots who believe this shit, maybe you're the idiot. I bet I can find something about you believe that we could call stupid. So let's just be cool and open, and let's give people the runway to land a plane, right? Let's give people some runway to have some of these thoughts, to think about some of these things and explore some of these ideas in a respectful way. There's nothing wrong with that. We don't need to judge anyone's beliefs, no matter what those beliefs are. No matter how crazy you think those beliefs are, we all think something crazy about something. So anyway, I've really enjoyed you guys hanging out. I really mean that. I thank y'all so much for hanging out and supporting the 3i Atlas, NASA releasing new images. Look where we ended up with all of this. The images were a little disappointing. I agree with what Android Paranormal said earlier, who, by the way, is a great guy in the open mic to talk to. There are some citizen astronomers who put out some really great stuff. It is curious about NASA and these images. I don't know. I don't think it's a conspiracy, but there's definitely some questions to ask. Nothing wrong with that. I personally believe this is a comet. Me personally, not going to gaslight you, and could be alien. I mean, it could be, but I personally think it's a comet. I'm not going to lie to you. That's my true belief. But with that said, I'm still keeping an eye on things. Still keeping an eye on it, just in case. So anyway. Links down below to go check out that live stream again from NASA if you want to, and to the photos and stuff that they have that they just released. I mean, they're dots in the sky, but some of you are way smarter than me and like to look at the data and get all the raw stuff, and I totally respect that. So have at it. I appreciate you guys. Y'all rock. Love y'all so much. Everyone have a great night. It's midnight for me. So I'm signing off. If you still have more time in your day, enjoy the rest of your day, your afternoon, and love you guys as always, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Oh, real quick. I got a super chat from Khan. Khan, what's up, brother? Costas, Khan, what's up, brother? European bros now. Gang, gang. That's right, European bros. Khan is from Greece, baby. Really great guy. Good to see Con around again, man. That's right. Where's all my European gangs at? We're going to have to do a little European get together. I'm working on that. Okay. So, and an American one. We're working on that for the documentary. So anyway, love y'all. We'll see you guys on the next one. Remember, what do I always say? Say it with me, y'all. Every day's a gift, y'all.